Hot stove conversations about baseball, history, football, and current events that may leave you saying there's more to consider. Now here's your host, Jack Moore.
Welcome to More to Consider, another Washington Redskin edition. I'm wearing the throwback jersey from the 2002 season, the LeVar Arrington jersey. Big fan of LeVar Arrington. His 70th anniversary season. I have with me Todd Young. Todd, how are you, sir?
Doing great, Jack. Good to see you. Good to talk to you.
Yes, sir. Okay, so Todd and I met. He's in the memorabilia game, or he runs a shop. I met him at a shop, and he found that I was probably the craziest collector of Washington Redskins stuff he had seen, and he's got some history in the in working around professional football and seeing some of the things we're going to talk about today. So I'm on X a little bit, as part of the thing I do with the podcast is do some promotion on X. And like I said, Todd and I grew up 70 miles from D.C., and he grew up in an area where also we were big Redskins fans, and we saw some of the history, some of the great players. And I did a show. I've mentioned this on some other shows. I did a show recently with Clint Hurdle, Major League manager, 9th overall pick, played in the big leagues, played in the World Series, and managed in the World Series. And I met him at baseball conventions 2 or 3 years ago. Knew some of the same people, hit it off, great guy. And I just did a show with him. And we were talking about players from different eras and how players see the past, or even fans, how they see the differences. And we were talking about players from different eras, and he was like, well, there's a lot of recency bias. And he brought up that term, and I kind of looked it up. I'm like, it kind of is what it says. People have a tendency to see everything as being better in their time frame, and however recent it is. And some of it they say is because people just didn't live in a particular time. They don't have access to it or exposure to it. Mm-hmm. Now, what's interesting is that I have mentioned as a baseball coach, I have brought out guys from 30 years ago. These kids have no idea who it is. And trying to be fair, apples to apples, I have my Ted Williams memorabilia here. I love Ted Williams. I never saw him play. He retired before I was born, but I knew who Ted Williams was, and I knew the Mantles and Mays and the guys that were at the end of their careers when I was a kid. So I do think kids are a little bit disconnected, although they can go on YouTube and see every player you've ever seen. And Todd, you may have seen some of this. I find it fascinating. I'll watch young kids, and I've seen a bunch of these videos. We have young kids, and in basketball, they'll go, "Hey, I've heard about this Larry Bird guy or this Magic Johnson guy," and they'll watch video and go, "Oh my God, who was that guy?" And they have no idea that guys 40 years ago were playing like that. So, and what happened on X? I'm flipping through X, and a guy puts up, here's my top 10 list of Washington Redskins / that other word that they're now referring to the team as. What do you think of my list? Do you have a better list, etc.? So I'm going to read the list, and then Todd and I are going to discuss the list. And in doing so, we're going to really get into the history of who we think ought to be on everyone's top 10 list. So here are the top 10, according to this young person. I'm not going to call them out, say who they are or anything, but it's Darryl Green, John Riggins, Joe Theismann, John Taylor, Trent Williams, London Fletcher, Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, Ryan Kerrigan, and this was the one I found shocking, was Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins was a rookie in 2012. And as I mentioned, my friend Todd here, he was always a guy I thought that this guy you wanted to marry your daughter, mow your lawn, do your dishes, good guy, but you don't want him in big moments. But the fact that somebody could envision putting Kirk Cousins on a top 10 list of franchise history was shocking to me. And I'm not trying to, to dump on Kirk Cousins, but my God. It is a franchise. He mentioned Theismann. It's a franchise that also had Sonny Jurgensen and Sammy Baugh in it. And the Doug Williams thing got to be pretty famous when he won the Super Bowl. Mark Rippon won a Super Bowl. But to have Kirk Cousins in that list, hell, even RG3, and he was a rookie of the year and had one of the greatest seasons ever. So, Todd, here we're going to go. We're going to go back to the front, and I'm back to the beginning here. And I'm also going to say, because I didn't go down through it, the position that person was known to have played. And number one was the 28th overall pick in the 1983 draft. That was his rookie year after the 82 season, was Darryl Green, who was a left corner, played generally left corner, but he was a rover guy. He would play whatever side of the field the top receiver was on. But Darryl Green, do you see Darryl Green legitimately being in any top 10 list?
Yes, absolutely. As far as defense, I would put him at the top. I mean, based on production, based on longevity, leadership. I mean, return punts when needed in certain situations where the team needed him back there. Yes, he would be, as far as defensively, from what I've seen with him, he would be at the top.
Yeah, and the fact that he played 20 years, I think, is outstanding, and all 20 with Washington. And you remember, I'm almost positive I'm right on this. I could look it up. I was at a wedding in August of 1983, and they played the Atlanta Falcons. I would bet money on this in the first preseason game. And the first time he ever touched the ball in professional football in a preseason game, he returned it for a touchdown, and it got called back. And I remember watching it with a group of friends after a wedding. We went to somebody's house after the wedding. I'm like, holy cow, that's the guy they just drafted. He can really run.
Yeah.
Then, of course, probably the most famous return he has is an 87 strike season. They go 3-0 with the replacement guys, and they draw having to go to Chicago to play the Bears. And they beat them the year before with Jay Schrader. They beat him again with Doug Williams. And he returns a punt. Famously, he hurdles a guy, pulls some cartilage in his rib cage or something, and then he's limping into the end zone, crying out because he's in pain. Remember, CBS had some boom microphones down there, and you can hear them all yelling, "Hey, get off of him," because he's pretty damaged. Comes back and he plays the next week, and he gets past all of this injury. But that was a big moment. We're going to talk about some of the biggest moments in Redskin history. Whenever you run the reel of famous plays in Redskin history, it's going to make it somewhere in the top 15 probably. It's one of the great plays. Darryl Green, point being, Darryl Green could have probably returned as many punts for touchdowns as anybody ever played.
Without a doubt.
But there was a risk of injury. And so being the fact that he was a cornerstone at corner, we didn't do that. So you and I would be in agreement. I not only would say he's a top 10 player, I think in anybody's list, he's got to be top 3, maybe top 2. Okay.
Yeah. Now you realize they passed on Dan Marino to take him.
Dan Marino was a pick in front of him.
Oh, he's okay.
Yeah, Miami picked in front and took him.
Okay, that's my bad on that.
No, and actually, one of the funny stories about Bobby Beathard and Darryl Green, Darryl Green, I think, graduated high school at 140 pounds or something, literally, and he went to college. And he said when he went, he talked about on one of the videos on the Redskins, he goes, that Mama told me there would be right now moments. And so when I got to this tryout for, was it Texas A&I? I think it was the school. He goes there and they're like, okay, run the 40. And he goes, okay, Mama said this is going to be my right now moment. I put down a 40 time. They were like, holy cow, this guy can run.
Oh, yeah.
So he gets out of his senior year and he says, I'll never forget, Bobby Beathard calls. And he goes, I'm somewhat aware. I know the Redskin franchise. I'm somewhat aware who the guy is calling. And he goes, hey, Darryl, just want to tell you, be by the phone first round. If you're still around, we're going to take you with the last pick in the first round because they're the champions, so they got the last pick. And Darryl Green, who's got a great sense of humor, he laughed, goes, I was like, oh, yeah, Bobby, if I'm still around, like I'm sure that I'll already be gone because I'm thinking nobody's going to take me in the first round. Sure enough, I'm around, and Washington takes me, just like Bobby Beathard said. Bobby Beathard said, I'm going to draft you. And he didn't believe it. He didn't believe it, and they did.
Yep, great pick.
You gotta say this too about whenever you're talking about Mount Rushmores of people, I think that I got to give credit. I will say this. But we think of the modern day Redskins past the 50th anniversary in 1969 when they kind of get to the second half of the 100 years of history. Now we're on the plus side of 100 years. Lombardi brought credibility to the team that made a difference, and it led to Allen, and you got to give Allen some credit. You have to give Joe Gibbs credit. Joe Gibbs is in the Mount Rushmore. But the guy that I think was the most instrumental in the 12-year run with the 4 Super Bowls and 3 victories in the Super Bowl was Bobby Beathard. Oh, yeah. The guy had insane success. And he came from the Dolphins, where they won. He went from Washington to the Chargers and put them in the Super Bowl. So he's in the Hall of Fame. God bless him. He passed away here a few years ago. But I was always a huge Bobby Beathard fan.
He was great. He was one of the best GMs in the league for a long time.
Well, when you're picking Mark Loreth in the 10th round, Charlie Castley might have been around, but Monty Coleman in the 11th round. Monty Coleman's one of our favorites from Central Arkansas that, and I've told you this story about, for the folks that don't know Monty Coleman was chiseled, zero body fat guy, was a safety at a small college, converted to linebacker. And I'm at a baseball camp a few years ago. And there's a baseball coach there from a school in Arkansas. And he's sitting around and he goes, hey, there's this football coach. Somebody said he played in the league, but man, he's in the weight room. He's out lifting anybody on the football team. And he keeps talking. And I'm like, are you talking about Monty Coleman? He goes, yeah. How did you know that? I'm like, because you said Arkansas and you said football. You know Monty Coleman? I said, I love Monty Coleman. I'm a Skins fan, dude. He played for 16 years for us. Riley McKenzie, he took late in the draft. And Riley McKenzie played 16 years.
During his time, the Hogs. I mean, that was Bobby Beathard that put that whole deal together.
Yeah, that's right.
With the Hogs.
Yeah, and Jeff Bostic was brought in to be the long snapper, and Ted Gazile had been the center, and he beats him out. So that's a year ahead of the Hogs. And then he drafts Russ Grimm in the 3rd round, and Mark May in the 1st round, both from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And Grimm becomes a Hall of Famer, and May was a solid player, but he wasn't the other guys. Joe Jacoby's an undrafted guy from Louisville, which the famous story is Bugle wants him, and Gibbs is ready to cut him because he thinks he's just an extra defensive end. They got too many defensive linemen. He doesn't even realize he's an offensive lineman. In the end, Jacoby becomes Jacoby. Yeah. And then George Stalk was the one guy from the past that had 10 years in. So they have this 10-year veteran at right tackle. Everybody else is young. And they're really all coming in, minus Bostic, who was there a year earlier. They're all 81 guys. They all come in 81.
Yeah. Yeah.
Minus a plug-in here and there along that offensive line for 12 years. It was that group. And if you had told me in 81 that the guy on the backside in the 91 season when they won the Super Bowl, the first guy to really break down and not play would be Grimm, I said, no way. Bostic's still the center. Kobe's still on the line. Schlereth has gone to guard. They've been able to, with Lachey, move Jacoby to the right side, and Riley McKenzie's the left guard. So during that season, Riley McKenzie was the left starting guard on one of the greatest lines they've ever had. But Grimm is kind of a shell of his former self, but Don Warren's still playing. And that's another thing about when you're a fan like we are, you don't have that team making that run. If there's any way Don Warren could hear what I'm saying right now, dude, you were the most perfect Don Warren that could have ever been. He was a blocking tight end that made like a third tackle. He was an amazing player for what we did, and he never got hurt.
No, he was solid as a rock. Very, very instrumental in the success of the offense in general, the running game, pass protection. I mean, he was like a bookend over there blocking.
And he may not have fit in anybody else's scheme, or he may not have been whatever. But Clint Didier was another guy that they brought in. They went to Portland State to work out Neil Lomax and found him and said, "Hey, we got a 6'6" guy that runs a 4.5 40, and he looked kind of freakish." Yeah, because he's tall and he can put on 245 pounds, and they made him a tight end. So, but we had a lot of freak players. The Monty Colemans, the Don Warrens, they may not have fit into anybody else's system, but they were long-term performance for us, and they were perfect. All right, I'm getting too much into that. So we've said Darryl Green. We're with that. John Riggins.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. Absolute workhorse. I mean, he the 4th down touchdown in the Super Bowl against Miami. I mean, it was like, damn, my life's complete now. I've actually seen the Redskins win a Super Bowl. I mean, he was just an absolute workhorse.
It's funny you say that because I was 20 when it happened, and I remember that thinking like, man, I get to walk around town now, the people with all this Washington Redskin gear I've been buying through the years. Not what I have now, but I had my Redskin stuff, and, being a Redskin fan was kind of like being an also-ran. You made a playoff every once in a while. You lost the Super Bowl when I was 10. Now you're back in one when I'm 20. And I was so nervous on that play. It was 4th down and 1, and they run that off tackle play that they ran all the time. And McNeil, I cannot remember. Was it Don McNeil, I think, was the corner.
It was Don McNeil. Yeah.
He is in motion, or he is trailing the motion of, I think it was Didier. I think it was Didier, the one was in motion. Was Didier there yet? Or if it was him, it was Don.
No, I don't think Didier was
Rick,
there.
I think it was Rick Walker. It might have been Rick Walker, but
it was Doc Walker.
I gotta check to see what year Didier came in. I think Didier might have been on the '82 team, but I know he was there later. But
I think he came in later. We'll have to check that.
Somebody's in motion, and on the motion, McNeil's trailing. McNeil slips and falls, and then he has to get up and try to catch up to Riggins, and has no prayer, and Riggins just kind of runs right over him.
Kind of brushed him off.
Yeah, he kind of brushes him off. And I go from that moment when I'm thinking potential total disaster could happen on this play, stuffed in the backfield, any of these things, to I'm, as you were, I'm like, hey, I'm kind of hoping here that we're going to be able to pick up the first down, keep the drive alive. Next thing you know, it's touchdown. And then when it happened, I'm like, I didn't see that coming. We didn't see any of that coming.
No.
And I think it has been listed by many commentators, Redskin commentators, as the greatest play in team history.
Sure.
I'm trying to think.
I can't think of a bigger one.
I can't either. Winning the first Super Bowl, even I'm starting to think about all the other Super Bowls, because like in Super Bowl 22, there really was not as much a big moment, unless you want to say it was the first 80-yard pass to Ricky Sanders that started the avalanche.
Yeah.
But it was such an avalanche of touchdowns in that 18 plays and 5 touchdowns. You don't have that one particular one. With Riggins on this one, it was the biggest play.
Yeah, it was huge.
And I don't remember a Super Bowl 26 like one particular special play either. It was kind of an ass kick, and it was a routing.
Yeah, that team has to go down as one of the best in the history of the league. I mean, they should have gone undefeated.
Okay, I'm watching the play here. Let me just say this real quick. It was Clint Didier.
It was, okay.
Yeah, and it was Otis Wansley that was the lead blocker, which I remember.
Otis Wansley.
But I'm looking right at the film now. Number 86 is running back over. So, yeah, I thought Didier was a rookie that year. I was pretty sure he was a rookie, and I thought in my mind I could remember him sprinting up and down the line. So, yeah, he goes in motion. Otis Wansley destroys somebody. Don McNeil tries to catch up, and Didier's actually running right behind Riggins. And then he kind of looks back over his shoulder. Okay. Gorn would have been in for the play. He would have been when they were playing the two tight ends. And here comes Stark. Here comes Grimm. Here comes Bostic, all cheering. Rick Walker was on the field too.
Yeah.
So there we go. But yeah, in my mind, I was thinking Clint Didier was probably around then and was probably involved in that play. So back to the list.
That's a good call there.
Yeah, well, everything plays in my mind like a motion picture, so I can remember, like, I think that guy was here and that guy was there, and I remember somebody winning motion because I remember that Don McNeil was chasing the motion guy or staying in pace, and when the motion guy turned to go back, he slipped making the turn, and that's why he didn't get to Riggins on time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, number 3 on this guy's list, Joe Theismann. Can you see? You don't see Joe in the top 10.
No, and love Joe. I mean, those 2 Super Bowl, the win and then the loss against I mean, he was great. I mean, when he first got into the league with them, I mean, he would return punts, anything he could do to tribute to the team, he would do it. No, I mean, he was, for a few years there, he was really, really good. But you don't have the longevity with him. That 83 season, believe me, he was MVP. He was unstoppable MVP. But I mean, he wouldn't be on my top 10 list. No way.
No, I don't think he makes the top 10 either, just simply because there's so many great players in Redskin history.
Yeah.
But I will say, as we've discussed before, he's got kind of a strange career. He runs up against Jim Plunkett for the Heisman Trophy. I've seen the story where Theismann said he goes to kind of the PR guy at Notre Dame, and they're like, "How do you pronounce your name?" And he goes, "It's Theismann." He goes, "No, it's Theismann now." And he goes, "No, it's Theismann." He goes, "No, from now on it's Theismann." So
Theismann for the Heisman.
Theismann for the Heisman. Then he doesn't win to Jim Plunkett. He gets drafted in the 4th round by the Dolphins and decides he's not going to get what he wants or an opportunity because Bob Greasy's there, so he goes to Canada. So he's up there
Yeah.
71, 72, 73. Then there's a famous film I've seen of him, and I'm sitting there like watching the Super Bowl and or watching the 72 season. Bob Greasy breaks his ankle. And it's like, son of a gun. I could have been right there on the field with the team that was undefeated. Instead, Earl Morrall takes them to the Super Bowl, and then they give it to Greasy to finish the game. Or they put Greasy back in during the playoffs. So he has this strange thing where he ends up in Washington, and he said why. Jurgensen's approaching 40, or it's his 40 year.
Yeah.
Then so Kelmer's 35, and it's like those guys got no tread left on the tire. He becomes highly unpopular among the veterans. I've talked to one of the veterans, and I said, how are you with the whole Sonny Billy thing? He goes, we love them both. Whoever was playing didn't matter. But the one thing they were in concert together on was they didn't want Theismann to play. So, and he's talked about the returning the punts brought kind of a side eye from guys like, come on, guys, stop showboating. You're not a punt returner. Although he had done that, he said he just wanted to be on the field. But the one thing I will say, part of the beauty of being a Redskins fan is some of the players I've been around in different settings, going to Redskin camp in Richmond when they did the camp at summer camp in Richmond, spent a lot of time around Rick Walker and seeing Brian Mitchell.
Yeah.
I've always had the greatest respect for Rick Doc Walker. If you're a Redskin fan, you love Doc Walker.
Oh, love him.
One of the things he said was, I tell you what, he goes, Joey T was a pretty boy. He was opening restaurants. He was doing all kinds of crazy stuff, wanted to be in the limelight. But the son of a gun was the toughest guy on the field. You could hit him in the mouth. You know, famously, I think it was the Byron Hunt hit he took in the 82 game against the Giants when it was starting to snow. Gets all of his teeth knocked out in the front, finishes the game, spitting blood.
Yeah.
Gibbs says he looks over and he sees a gap in his teeth, between it. And he's like, man, you're spitting blood. So as much as people kind of label him a pretty boy, and I got to tell you this one too, the football life they did on Theismann, one of the big moments, I thought it was like a great man moment. He goes out on the field with Lawrence Taylor, and he goes, I can still smell the air. The big clock up there said 10:18. I remember what the clock said after you broke my leg. And he goes, and you called me the next day. Lawrence Taylor's got the stogie, and he's huge. He's so much bigger than Theismann. I've been beside Theismann. He's 6 feet. And, he's towering over him. And LT gives him the yeah, man, I called you, and you were all crying about how bad you hurt. He goes, man, you broke my leg in half. And he goes, well, I didn't kill you. And if I'm going to break your leg, I didn't half-ass it. So they're laughing about it.
Yeah.
But then there's this moment where Taylor looks at him, and he goes, but Joey, or Joe T, I didn't want you to go out that way, brother, because I respected you so much. And I thought, man, that was huge. Like Lawrence Taylor looking at you and saying, because I didn't want you to go out that way. And of course, and I will say this too, I don't think I've ever said this on a show. Maybe I've said it once or twice. All this love I give to Lawrence Taylor, who played for the Giants. He's from Williamsburg, Virginia, so I appreciate that. But one thing you never heard about Taylor? Think about it. You never heard cheap shot.
No.
Can you think of one time anybody ever said late hit, cheap shot, Lawrence Taylor? I'd never heard it.
No, I never. No, I can't.
I can't.
I mean, he's probably the best defensive player I've ever seen.
He's the best. Yeah, I think that's true. But the reason I bring that up is I see so many people they don't know. They weren't there. I was sitting there watching. I was at Gardner Webb College, and I was sitting there watching the game with a young lady at the girls' dorm. I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, oh, my God, Theismann just broke his leg. She goes, who's that? I'm like, my quarterback, and she didn't really know exactly what was going on. But when you think back or when you listen to a lot of people, it's as if, the best illustration of what a ferocious player Lawrence Taylor was how he broke Theismann's leg. What he had happen was he was a 250-pound guy that came down awkwardly on his lower leg with his hip.
Yeah.
That's about as little potential, or this is as little designed hit to bring about a broken leg as you could possibly have. It's just the body fell a certain way.
Right.
But in people's minds, it was a hit where he just, crosshairs zeroed in on Theismann and decided to break his leg. It's not that at all.
Right.
It was a freak thing.
It was a freak. It was a freak play.
Yeah, and it messed Taylor up. You could tell that
it did. I mean, you could tell it really affected him big time. I mean, he was screaming for the bench. Get the medical people in here. I mean, you could tell it affected him big time.
Yeah, and I just had a lot of respect for LT. I mean, when he was playing, that 86 season when it was really for Schrader and they had 3 losses to 2 regular season to playoff game, I was like, can anybody do anything with him? Because as a Redskin fan,
Yeah.
you just say he's disrupting every play. He's destroying every play from behind. He's taking your back or tight end that you're trying to bring out to block his backside of the quarterback and physically throwing the guy into the quarterback. So we're talking Redskins. We're talking about the greatest LT, but
Yeah.
I think he has a lot to do with what Joe Jacoby's gone through trying to get in the Hall of Fame. I
Yeah.
had a Hall of Fame guy ask me, because what do you think the problem is? I said, too much bad film against LT.
You're right. Right.
But that's everybody else too. No left
Yeah.
tackle had good film against LT. He just didn't.
No, he couldn't handle him. I mean,
Well, he couldn't handle the speed. I mean, straight
yeah.
up. There is a famous film, though, of game in New York where Grimm had to play left tackle, and he famously bounces Taylor on his ass. He picks him up and throws him back on a pass rush.
Mhm.
Grimm was a great athlete. I mean, he was a really great athlete.
Yeah.
Jacoby was more of a road grader. When they put him at the right tackle where he more naturally could run over people, I don't know that he was the greatest pass blocker. Lachey was. Lachey was that
Yeah.
guy. Jim
Yeah.
Lachey, which is not mentioned here. But so the next guy this person puts in is Sean Taylor. This is going to bring about a lot of conversation. Where are you with Sean Taylor being on the top 10 list?
Well, I mean, first of all, he's my favorite Redskin ever.
Right.
Loved him. I would put him in my top 10. I mean, he was coming into his own. If he had lived, I think he would have been the greatest safety ever. Just that game against Green Bay, I mean, he could have had 7 interceptions. He was covering the whole field. Just unbelievable. He was quite the athlete, built like a Mack truck, and boy, could he hit you. I mean, you knew when he was on the field. He would lay the lumber big time. I mean, my favorite of all time, my favorite Redskin, definitely of all time. I Had he lived, I think he would have been the greatest Redskin ever. I truly believe that. He was coming into his own, turned his life around, dedicated to football, his craft, his family, his girlfriend and his daughter. Love the guy.
Yeah, it was all really, really, it's crazy too. Like when Kennedy got shot or 9/11, when you hear people say, I was walking through my door where I practice law, and a friend of mine who's a judge now, we had been prosecutors together. He called me and I was in the door frame of the door. And he called me and goes, Sean Taylor's fighting for his life. I'm like,
Yeah.
and he goes, Sean Taylor got shot in his house. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, last night, Miami.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? So then I go on the computer and I start looking and, and I'm seeing all the reports and everything. And I just sit there. It was like a vigil, we all just sat back and hoped that and prayed that he was going to live. And
Yeah.
it was sad. And people are going to say like, yeah, you lost one of your great Redskins, of course, boo hoo, you lost a player. It was everything else. It was one of the most emotional things. The 21 towel I have up here was given to the fans on the game after his death.
Right.
Everybody around me was crying. They did a piece with Clinton Portis and Santana Moss talking about what he meant to them. Man, it was tough. It was tough to go through because you saw a young life ended. We loved him as a player. That goes without saying. But again, I think a lot of people were starting to see a real uptick in his life. They were seeing a lot of positive things in his life.
Yeah. He was a wild man when he first came into the league.
Yes, he was.
I mean, he did the socks. He taped his face mask. He would do what he would do, but I mean, when he was turning it around, he had turned it around, and he was only going to get better. I mean, we just saw a glimpse of how good he was going to be. I think he would have been better than Ed Reed, without a doubt. I think he could have been the best safety ever. He had that kind of talent. I mean,
well, that alone, the fact that a university college institute of higher learning could have Ed Reed in a senior year with a freshman Sean Taylor coming out of the same school is insane.
Oh God,
that's insane.
That team. A friend of mine was the Nike football marketing promo guy. Miami, Virginia Tech. They were his teams, and I would go to the games with him. We would have all access, sideline passes, the whole deal, locker room access, anywhere you want to go. And We went to the game. It was 2000 to whenever when Sean Taylor was the freshman with Ed Reed, and that team. I mean, it was just loaded. I mean, you had Willis McGahee, Frank
Mm-hmm.
Gore, Clinton Portis, your running back,
Yeah,
Shockey,
I guess mine.
Kellen Winslow, Reggie
Santana
Wayne.
Moss would have been there too, right?
Moss was there. You had Reggie Wayne, Andre
Right. Good.
Johnson, the whole offensive line. You had Sean Taylor. You had Ed Reed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the whole. It was just unbelievable how talented that team was. And
And for
Virginia Tech almost beat them that day too.
yeah. Well, for people listening to this or watching this, there's something else about going to a pro football game. I got a buddy of mine whose brother played. I won't say who, but it was a friend of mine whose brother played for the Redskins back in the Super Bowl 26 season. And he was an All-American high school football player. He goes to a major university. He's a second-round pick. And I said, what was it like going to the NFL? He goes, I'll put it this way. When I went from my All-American status in high school to college, the speed of the game was mind-numbing to go to college.
Yeah.
When I went to the pros, it was 100 times faster.
Yeah.
It was 100 times faster than college.
It is.
And it takes a while to realize you belong out there because your mind has to process how fast it's happening. Now, another thing where I wanted to go with this is all the live games, and right over my shoulder, you right back here, you see the LeVar Arrington intercepting a pass against the Buccaneers. I have the ticket in the corner. And I did a show the other night, Todd, on the uniforms and this controversy over the spear, but I went over the different years. I'm not a white on white guy generally, but when they wore that white on white in that 05 season, that was badass with that darker burgundy helmet. So anyway, in that game, I was at the second level in Tampa.
Yeah.
Very nice people. We won, in spite of Mark Brunell's performance that day, but there's 2 touchdowns scored. LeVar Arrington catches a deflected pass from Chris Sims, takes it down to 6, first play, Portis in, touchdown. And then Sean Taylor picks up a ball in a dead run and scores on it. And then he gets kicked out of the game for spitting on a running back, Pittman, for Tampa Bay. But what I was going to say is when you're at the game and you see them huddle up, you see a defensive lineman size and shape. And they had those guys out there. LeVar Arrington was beside DeMarcus Washington, a linebacker listed about the same size. It was like a father-son. How much bigger LeVar Arrington? And I'm going to tell you, folks, LeVar Arrington was my guy. I loved LeVar Arrington. I wanted to see him be the next LT. He wore the 56. I saw it all coming. I didn't like the way he got treated in Washington. I got a friend of mine who's a close friend of his that, worked with the Redskins organization. He said he's the guy you think he is. I was at an autograph show one time and went to Hooters next door right after it. And one of the girls in there said, the best athlete I've ever seen come into these restaurants is LeVar Arrington. He leaves $100 tip every time. He never says anything. He never flirts with him. He's a gentleman. He's a gentleman, always leaves a great tip. Love LeVar Arrington. It's a weird thing for me to say in support of him, but he's a good dude, right?
Yeah, he was a good dude.
I was a big fan. And his father was a Vietnam veteran. They said he used to go to Walter Reed and sit with troops and go over and visit people. And no fanfare. Yeah, it was a lot of good things about LeVar Arrington, and I didn't like the way he got treated. However, when I'm looking at their defense, there's LeVar, like much bigger than any linebacker. Then there were the 4 guys in the back, the 2 corners and the 2 safeties. And I swear to you, Sean Taylor was linebacker size. He was as big as the linebackers. And he was lean in the end because he lost a bunch of weight. That rookie year when he wore 36 before he went to 21. By that final year, so in 05 when I saw him, it was year 2, he had started to lean out. And in 07, his final season, I saw him move in a different way. But he was still the height, the size, the shoulder width.
Yeah.
He's a big guy. But yeah.
Huge.
That was the best football player I ever saw. I've seen some good ones. I never saw any player come close to him. So if somebody wants to put him in a top 10 list, I'm down. I'm with it.
I'm with it. I think if he would have had lived and played an entire career, I think he would be number 1. I think he was that good.
Yeah, but if you're, like I said, if you're drafting all the guys that ever played for the Redskins and you could take that guy in his prime, his prime was 24 before he passed. I mean, that's the only prime he was allowed to have. You still take him first overall.
Yeah.
if you got a guy that you could play like him. All right, now, this next one's another kind of weird one because, again, I think it shows a bias of a young man. But I kind of like the guy, but I think I disassociate him with the team, even though his career was, I guess, somewhat split. Was Trent Williams? He's a Hall of Famer.
He's a Hall of Famer, and I just it's kind of like Champ Bailey. It's like,
yes,
darn, why weren't these guys with him their entire career? And
Paul Krause is way back.
Yeah,
Paul Krause is a guy.
and
he's Rookie of the Year. Then he's out to Minnesota.
And Trent Williams will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I just wish he could have played his entire career with Washington. And he can still play. He's still solid. I mean, it's just you get a left tackle like that, a premium position, and they're hard to find guys like that. And I mean, if he had played his entire career with the Redskins, definitely in the top 10. Definitely.
Something else I can tell you from a live game. I was at the Dallas Washington game, 2012, December 30, I believe it was.
When they won the division.
When they won the division, and 200 yards from Alfred Morris and all that.
Yeah.
And I was watching them go through warm-ups. So they're kind of running plays off scrimmage and then heading up the field. Trent Williams can fly.
Yeah, great athlete for his size.
Oh, but no, it was like crazy athletic. He was a 4th overall pick. I don't remember what he ran the combine. I think he was like substantially under a 5 flat in the 40. I'm not sure he wasn't like flirting sub 4.9. It was kind of crazy how fast he was. So I saw him play, and I saw the athleticism, and from a big, heavy guy. Well, Trey Johnson's a guy that tragically died here recently. He was the same.
Yeah.
He was shorter, but very, very thick, very heavy guy. But man, that guy was an athlete. He could play.
Yeah, he was.
And we just lost him. Gosh, he wasn't 55. It was even that. I don't even feel he was 50-some years old.
I think he was, yeah.
But okay. You got Trent Williams. There's a lot of other offensive linemen that are going to get some love. I think the main ones that have to get some love, if you're going to have Trent Williams, you always have to ask the question of Russ Grimm, guy in the Hall of Fame already. You got to say Jacoby.
He would be in there. Yep.
And I think the other guy that you have to think about, because everybody, I say that generically, but people miss on Chris Hamburg was one of those guys who was in the Pro Bowl every year.
He was.
And then what? A good 40 years after his career, or 35 years after his career, he finally makes the Hall of Fame.
Got the Hall of Fame, yeah.
But when you look, he made the Pro Bowl every year. Well, you know another guy like that? Another guy like that made the Pro Bowl constantly, and I never hear really mentioned, is Len Haas.
Yeah, solid center. Didn't he play center?
He played center out of Georgia.
Yeah.
Came in 64 and played till 78. But I'm saying he had a string of seasons. As a kid, I remember this. Every year you're getting to the next to last game, and Pat Summerall's doing the game, or whoever was doing the game. You hear him like, well, okay, the Pro Bowls list out. It was always Len Haas. Len Haas
always made it.
He was center all the time. So that tells me if you're going through a career where you're in the Pro Bowl, but I actually mentioned this on the show the other day, a guy that I used to sit and talk to quite a bit and had a lot of personal time with was Roger Brown. So Roger Brown famously was on the Detroit defensive line with Alex Karras, and then he becomes part of the second fearsome foursome after Rosie Greer was gone in L.A., and he had a restaurant in Portsmouth. And you could go in there at any time and see him. He passed away here in the last decade. Sweetheart, nice guy. He played 10 seasons. He was in 6 Pro Bowls.
Yeah.
He's another guy. And I've heard a lot of people bring it up like, why the hell's Roger Brown not in the Hall of Fame?
Right.
If you make 6 Pro Bowls, you're kind of in the conversation. I don't know the reason
why. He should be.
I kind of thought so too. I
think Jacoby needs to be in. I just find that to be ridiculous. And, go back to we were speaking earlier. I mean, Lawrence Taylor, that may be what's keeping him out. He just could not block the guy, nor could many other people.
Well, I talked to a guy that asked me that question that was a Hall of Fame kind of guy. He studies this guy, Kirk Buckner, that I do shows with. And he does a show not in the Hall of Fame. Like, that's the channel he does. And he's put together a United States Hall of Fame. And I got to meet Upton Bell, Burt Bell's son, through him, and did a show. 88 years old and great guy. I mean, he was a lot of fun. But
Mm-hmm.
when we were talking, Kirk said to me, "What is the story on Jacoby?" And I said, "Well, the number one story here is too much bad film against Lawrence Taylor." And he goes, "That's what I hear too." Because that's exactly what I hear. And now the thing is, Anthony Munoz, who I think is the greatest left tackle of all time, didn't have 2 games a season against LT. I don't know how many times he caught him in his career. Poor Jacoby. I don't say poor. He's a man. He stood
He'd
up
see
to
him
it.
3 times a year, but the
Well, the
playoffs.
playoff in the 86 season. Right. But I mean, he was guaranteed 2 outings against against Lawrence Taylor every year. And a lot of guys didn't have that. I mean, let's face it. Unless you were with the Eagles, unless you were with the Cardinals at that time, the Redskins, you weren't going to see him. You weren't having to deal with the Cowboys. Everybody had to deal with him, and there was a lot to deal with for sure.
He was a ton to deal with.
Yes, he was. He made a lot of people look bad. All right,
the next Joe was a mountain of a man. He was a mountain of a man.
I was at an autograph show with him one time. This is a great story. I was at an autograph show. Great guy. I mean, like everybody kind of moved away, and it was in the midst of the 90s when everything was terrible. I'm like, "Joe, what happened to men like you that played?" He goes, maybe they'll turn it around. This is in Norv Turner time, and things are going kind of south. And this lady comes up and goes, "Oh my God, is that your Super Bowl ring?" He goes, "Yes, ma'am, it is." He goes, "Could I see it?" She could just about put it on her wrist. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was huge.
And then she's like, "What size is that?" He goes, 19. And then what's crazy is he then showed his wedding band had a clasp underneath like a bracelet because his left, the ring finger knuckle was so jacked up from playing. Like a lot of these guys with bent fingers. I don't know if you've ever seen Anthony Munoz to sit outs at 90 degrees and Baldinger that used to be on, television. These guys' hands or digits are turned around. So Jacoby had a wedding band made that slipped over and then clasped so he could get it past the joint. But I'll never forget that his hands are on the table and they're about as big as the face here of my computer. It's like, but really super nice guy. I mean, really
he is. I mean, I tell you, I met him. I was over throughout just big into swimming.
Yeah.
My kids swam. I used to coach and swim. And I was over at my gym over here in Midlothian, and there was a swim meet over at it was Riverside Wellness Fitness Center, Briarwood. They had they had the original long course 50-meter pool in the state of Virginia. So there was a meet going on, and some friends of mine were coaching. So, well, I'm gonna go check the meet out, and I go through the doors, and just 4 or 5 steps to go up and get to the pool, and this big guy standing there, and this big Joe Jacoby standing there.
Yeah.
His daughter swam, and she was good at that. No, I talked to him for about 15, 20 minutes up there. Nice guy, huge.
He
But
is a big
we
guy.
were talking a lot. Yeah, that was during the Norv Turner days. So we were kind of blasting everything going on back then.
What happened to our team? Yeah.
So he was doing radio or whatever. May have been doing the post game, pre game, and he had a few choice words to say. He was great.
That's kind of impression I got too. All right, the next on this guy's list was London Fletcher. And I mean, just to kind of go short list of the linebackers of history. We talked about Sam Huff, Chris Hamburger, some inside, some outside. You mentioned a great one, Wilbur Marshall.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is London Fletcher ended up as a guy, I think he played 16 plus years, and he ended up as a guy in the conversation as all-time leading tackler in the league history.
Yeah.
But the thing that kind of changes, and I love him, London Fletcher is an institution in D.C.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he had time with the Bills, he had time with the Rams, and I think a lot of people think the time with Washington, and I mentioned Bobby Wagner, kind of getting the same thing. We're going to get a Hall of Fame level player because London Fletcher right now is in the running for the Hall of Fame. He's in that list of the 2026 candidates that could get in. And I think he should. I think that London Fletcher
should get in.
Guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he should. I mean, had he played his entire career with the Redskins, absolutely. I mean, the time he was there, and it was toward the end of his career. I mean, I can't say anything negative about him. He was a solid player, a great leader.
I just don't see him in the top 10.
I don't see him in the top 10. He just was not with the team long enough, in my opinion, to be there.
But it's it's an interesting thing for him.
That is an interesting one. And I mean, he ain't far past number 10 for sure.
So the next one was kind of shocking to me. But again, this shows again when you're talking about a 20-year-old and what does a 20-year-old see the world as compared to what we see it as, having seen the great teams. The number 7 on this guy's list was Jaden Daniels.
Well, I hope he's number 1 on that list before it's over, but not enough. There's just not enough there.
Well, the other problem for me is it's Jaden Daniels and Joe Theismann on this list, and there's no Sammy Baugh, there's no Sonny Jurgensen.
No,
let's wake up on that. But
I mean, I would even put Billy ahead of him at this point.
Well,
yeah.
I don't think that Jaden Daniels isn't more talented than some of the people involved.
Yeah.
But you got two guys in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And now Sammy Baugh is strictly 16 years in Washington. He is a Washington Redskin. And in the first 50 years of the league, he was considered the greatest player to that point in league history.
Sure.
He was a punter and a defensive back. He had a 4-interception, 4-touchdown pass game in the same game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, people will say, no face mask, leather helmets, and all the rest, but he only played in the area he could play in because that's when he lived.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
You can't knock the fact that the guy, initial class of the NFL Hall of Fame 1963, he's in it. He's in the initial class.
Mm-hmm.
Sammy Baugh is in the conversation as one of the greatest players of all time. When the NFL Network did the 2013 version of the top 100 players of all time, I want to say Baugh was 13. I think he was 13.
I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was. Yeah.
So you had him in the top 20, and of course that time they had Brady 20, where would he be today? But it was 2013. Yeah. But at that time, when you look back, you realize Sammy Baugh was one of the most respected players. And again, a guy that played from 37 to 52. It's some time ago.
Mm-hmm. I mean, as far as Jaden Daniels, I mean, the talent, the potential, I think the work ethic, he wants to be great. He's not he's a hard worker.
I like everything about him.
I like everything about it, and I think he has the talent to be there. And I hope he is. I hope he is. Love the guy, and but we got to get a little bit more of got to get a little bit more film on him before you put him.
Well, you can't be picking a second-year guy over guys with 16 and 18-year careers that are in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
All right, and this is another one. This is going to come up again, but probably not as egregious, not nearly as egregious, I think, a choice. And again, I'm not trying to poop on this guy's list, but again, I think it's brought about in large part by not really knowing anything about anything in history past 20 years ago. So Terry McLaurin was the next selection. Where are you with Terry McLaurin potentially being in the top 10 Washington Redskins /C team in history?
Nah, I wouldn't put him there. I mean, he's been great, and up until now, he's had horrendous quarterbacks.
Yes.
He's given them everything that you would want of a player. I mean, he's been good. He's been solid. I was a little upset with the holdout last year, but a very good player. I wouldn't put him in the top 10.
Yeah. One of the things I thought about it in reading that, I think he's a stand-up guy. And when it came to the holdout last year, I didn't have a problem with it at all. He's got one chance to get paid like that. Team can now. From the team standpoint, I thought if they passed on him and just said, "Hey, we love you, but you're approaching 30, and what you were is what you're not, and we got to move on with younger talent." I got that side too. That's a risk you take when you hold out.
It is.
But I think about fate and chance and things like that. So I did a show the other night on the uniforms, and when I did the show on Sonny Jurgensen, one of the things I find most fascinating, Jurgensen comes to Washington in 64. He gets a rookie, Charlie Taylor, who's running himself out of being a running back. Around the sweeps, he'd outrun the guards. He was undisciplined, etc. 66, when Otto Graham gets there, he moves him to split end. And Bobby Mitchell famously on one of the films says, I only saw 3 guys really make that transition from running back to split end or flanker very well. And that was Lenny Moore, me, and Charlie Taylor.
Yeah.
2 of those guys were with Sonny Jurgensen, right?
Yeah.
And when these guys talk about West Coast offense, when Bill Walsh took a Bengals team when he was with Paul Brown that couldn't move the ball, he
Yeah.
figured out the only way we're going to run the ball is to throw it down the field a little way. So they started to do an extended handoff almost. So
Yeah.
these are crazy numbers. By 1967, when Jurgensen's in full throttle, he throws 31 touchdowns and sets the record for 508 attempts, 288 completions,
Mhm.
3,747 yards, which were all records at the time. And this is the part I still to this day I think is crazy. They were 1, 2, and 4 in receiving. 1 was Taylor, 2 was Jerry Smith, and 4 was Bobby Mitchell.
Yeah.
The receivers that led the league, 1, 2, and 4, were from the same team, having the ball thrown to them by the same guy.
Yeah.
And one of the commentators I heard say that point, like Jurgensen was literally handing the ball off 40 yards down the field to running backs who naturally had running back moves and elusiveness and the rest. And it was a thing. Go back and watch the film. They lit the skies up and they were good together. So I say all that to say, Bobby Mitchell had a career prior. He had a career in Cleveland. He had a little bit of time with Norm Snead, got a little time with Sonny, Hall of Famer. Charlie Taylor, I think, in large parts, a Hall of Famer because of Sonny Jurgensen. Not that he wasn't one of the most talented players in pro football, because he was. He was a 3rd overall pick. The Redskins won a coin toss and got to pick him out of Arizona State. Jerry Smith is way underrated. 60 touchdowns for decades. He was the all-time touchdown receiver at tight end for the most touchdowns. He belongs in the Hall of Fame, no question.
I believe he does as well.
So you take Terry McLaurin. He ain't had no Sonny Jurgensen. He's not had any kind of Joe Theismann. He hasn't had any of these people. And so it's not fair to him until Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
And you see some step up in his game. But, of course, both of them were injured last year. They were just both hurt.
Yeah.
But I feel for Terry McLaurin. Everything I've heard him say, every way he's carried himself, I thought has been class. I think he's a throwback to kids from the past that were just like, solid people, solid citizens.
Yeah, I mean, he's a pro.
He's a pro.
I mean, he's a pro. And I was upset with the holdout, and I don't think his agent did him any favors either.
May not have. I don't know.
You know, and I wouldn't blame him for the season last year. I mean, but it just seems nothing worked. Nobody was in sync, period. But no, I mean, solid player, solid. You can't say anything bad about him. You really can't.
What's tough too is I have a real heart for soft spot, whatever the term would be, for that 04-07 Gibbs second run. Chris Cooley, love Chris Cooley. One of my favorite human beings that ever played the game for the Skins, Santana Moss. Gotta love Santana Moss. I was a big Clinton Portis fan. Clinton.
Me too.
So Santana Moss has to be in that conversation too, because he's getting the ball thrown to him by Mark Brunell, which I thought was one of the low spots in Washington passing. Jason Campbell's the same guy as Kirk Cousins. Marry your daughter, wash your dishes, mow your lawn. But he just wasn't that guy. God bless him. I think they shell-shocked poor Patrick Ramsey. I think he could have been something better. But we've gone through a bunch of bad quarterbacks leading up to and including the RG3 thing, and then Kirk Cousins, who wasn't the guy. And now I think we've got a guy that's a guy. And I also think that Jaden Daniels proves something. You give a guy 55 games in college instead of having one good junior year and then throwing him right into the fire. He was 24 his rookie year, or I think he turned 24 at the end of the season. So you're getting a different guy who's had a chance to season in college, played for 2 programs and all the rest. But I think Jaden Daniels is special. I do.
And I think he's going to have a big year. Cliff Kingsbury, I mean, he did a good job as offensive coordinator, but they have to change the offense. They've got to put Daniels under center. They can't expose him running like they have been. I mean, he's just not going to be around. They're going to be looking for another quarterback.
He's very, very smart about how he handles the run, though. When he gets down and gets away, he's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, he's a great passer. I mean, he has great touch. He can hit the long ball, drop it in there. I think he's going to have a very good season. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, looking back on something to clean up here on aisle 6, to clean up, when I was talking about McLaurin, I got into the wide receiver thing and kind of went back into the quarterback thing. But of course, the glaring omission in talking about wide receivers, and I talked about Bobby Mitchell, Charlie Taylor, Jerry Smith as a tight end, Art Monk.
Yeah, we can't forget about
I
Big
think
Art.
Monk's a great, and I'm going to go on this tirade again that I've gone on in several shows. I really believe this. Art Monk set a record in the NFL. He had the longest ovation in NFL history at the Hall of Fame. And that was because a lot of Redskins fans were there for him and Darryl Green.
Yeah.
But I met him at an autograph show. Well, autographs given out at a charity basketball game that the Skins would travel and play basketball. Saw Charlie Brown play. Charlie Brown could play. Saw Charlie Brown,
He could play.
Gary Clark, a lot of these guys, very athletic guys who were playing basketball. But anyway, I'm there the year that Monk has just set the record in 1984 for 106 catches, which was unheard of at the time.
Yeah.
And he leaves the league. He literally retires from the league, the all-time number one pass receiving, most receptions in history. And it takes him 8 years to get in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And
it was a disgrace.
Well, I may be wrong about this, but I think it's the same thing. This guy that has some kind of formula for measuring teams says the greatest team in NFL history, according to all of these, all these computations, the greatest team is the 07 Patriots, except for the fact they lost the Super Bowl. But the 18-0 to get there, to get into defeated. But the team that ran the table and finished the Super Bowl and finished, he said, and running all the numbers, he's got all these computations, all these type of things. He says the greatest team of all time is the 91 Redskins.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Now, we like that idea, right? So I'm listening to this guy talk about the talent level, what that team brought, how they played, all the parts. Where it's the output of the parts was greater, or the sum of the parts was greater. It was definitely a great football team. The Wilbur Marshalls, but Charles Mann is still a great player at that point.
Yeah.
We have some great players. Darryl Green still playing. So I remember going into that Super Bowl, stuff used to piss me off a lot. Going into the Super Bowl, I'm hearing all the sexy ESPN types. And I said, Buffalo Bills might be one of the greatest offenses of all time. Guess what? We scored more points that year. Then
Absolutely.
Then the next time you'd hear one of them say, yeah, and that Bills defense led by these great pass rushers, Bruce Smith included, it's got to be one of the greatest defenses of all time. Guess what? The Redskins allowed less points.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, so the Redskins are going into the Super Bowl against a team who's one of the greatest teams of all time, yet in scoring points, they're better, and allowing points, they're better. Okay, fine. And then it was all this hype. And then, it was a much bigger beating than 37-24. 14 of those points were right.
They dominated them.
So here's my theory. When you think Joe Gibbs, defining characteristics of Joe Gibbs, what do you think of most?
Oh, God, their offensive lines, the Hogs.
No, Joe Gibbs. Joe Gibbs.
I think he's the greatest coach ever.
I agree with that too, but the first thing I think of with him is what he would want me to think. He's a Christian.
He is, absolutely.
No, he's very much anything he leads with, I'm a Christian. And he wasn't when he first started playing college. He used to. The old story was when he was down in San Diego that he used to go down in bars and beat up Marines and was that guy. He was a tough guy and all the rest. Found the Lord, and okay. So look at some of the lives of the players there. Darryl Green, I believe, is an ordained minister. I remember I heard a lot of stuff about Charles Mann being heavily involved in the church in the area. Art Monk is that guy. So, he had a team full of guys who have gone on.
High character.
Well, not only high character, they're men of the cloth. I mean, they are guys that are heavily involved in the church. Monty Coleman was one of those type of guys.
He was.
So I always thought in a world, and I don't want to single out a particular player, but would it be fair to say that Michael Irvin didn't have the cleanest route to the Hall of Fame?
No,
I like
not
Michael
at all.
Irvin. I like Michael Irvin.
I do too.
But what I'm saying is he didn't have the struggle in the Hall of Fame that Art Monk did. And I think that Art Monk was as great a player or better. I mean, I love Michael Irvin, believe me. I think Michael Irvin in a lot of ways is a great guy. But I really think that what hurt Monk was he slept with his own wife. He didn't have any kind of felony charges or convictions and all that. I really do believe that's what hurt him. And what bothered me the most was Paul Zimmerman, that used to write for the wrote at the time for Sports Illustrated. He's on one of these questions shows, and they're like, "What about Monk? He doesn't have a signature catch for me, not sexy enough, and all this."
Yeah.
So there's a guy during the time they're trying to get Monk into the Hall of Fame that did like a 10-minute montage, not sexy enough. It was catch after catch after catch after catch, diving catch, one hand
production.
Well, not more than that. The guy was sexy on the field. I don't give a shit what anybody says.
Yeah.
Monk was not some stumbling, bumbling guy that just was all possession receiver. Monk had his moments. Monk was 6'3", 210 and could run. I mean, he ran a sub 4.5, but he was a running back. And Monk was physical. And Monk was one of the greatest blockers in NFL history for a wide receiver. And I'll tell you who else was.
Sure was
Charlie Taylor. Charlie Taylor would knock your ass out. They're the similar build. And one of the things that was heartwarming to me in the Gibbs years, who was the quarterback? I mean, who was the wide receivers coach? Charlie Taylor. And who was in the front office? Bobby Mitchell. The family was still there, the people that we loved. So I think Art Monk has been disrespected and taking.
I think he has too.
Yeah. And so I'm shouting out for Art Monk, because Art Monk brought me a lot of great memories as a fan. And I was offended.
I had a chance to meet him too several times.
He's the best guy on earth.
He was gold. I mean, he took the time to talk to you. He just, he gave you his time, and he was very, very respectful and giving. And he wasn't off to, I got to get out of here, screw you, or what. I mean, he would take the time. He'd sit there with you for an hour if you wanted him to.
I watched.
A great guy.
I was at a game one time in 1993, and I was waiting to see the friend of mine, and I didn't catch him coming out. But I saw this. I'll never forget this. I saw Charles Mann come out, and I saw somebody, I'm assuming wife, family member, pull up in like an SUV type of vehicle, 65 feet from the exit he came out of. I watched him for 20 plus minutes sign stuff on the way to his vehicle. He'd take a step, sign, pat a kid on the head, take a step, sign. He didn't blow through everybody. Brother, I watched him do that. I watched Charles Mann spend huge amounts of time holding up his family. I mean, that's Charles Mann, though. But he sat there step by step and signed stuff for people that flooded on to him.
Oh, yeah.
That was part of the thing, that you had to be a Redskin fan to recognize the character. And even Dexter Manley, who was to hell and back.
I love Dexter.
Everybody loves Dexter. And the whole community reached out to him to save his life.
Sure.
They pulled him back into the community to save his life.
Sure.
He was at Beach Blitz a few years ago in Virginia Beach. He was one of the favorite people for people to be in there. And he went through everything. The drug abuse, all the rest. I think he went through a homeless period.
And he made himself a really good football player, too.
He was a hell of a dude.
Yeah.
He was a freak show athlete.
Yeah.
That was another sub 4.5 40 playing defensive. Now he came to Washington. His first camp, he was the fastest guy in camp. And he was like 235.
That's another Bobby Beathard find there.
Yes, it was. He took the chance in the 5th round that a lot of people weren't willing to take, because he carried a lot of baggage. Yeah. It was known he carried a lot of baggage, but hey, God, he was phenomenal.
He was.
The bench 500 pounds and all the rest. The body, he was amazing. All right, how about this next one? Ryan Kerrigan. Our person has Kerrigan number 9.
I mean, not a lot. I can't say anything bad about him.
Can't do it. All-time sack leader for the franchise.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's right there. I mean, probably, I don't know, top 10, but, he's top 15.
Well, I'd be asking the question, though, do you think is he the top among defensive ends in franchise history?
He's up there.
He's got to be with the sacks.
Yeah, with the sacks, he's up there. Without a doubt. I mean, you talk about another guy that would take the time with fans. I mean, I remember when I was with my son, and he was probably 8 or 9, 10, whatever at the time. And we were at a Richmond Flying Squirrels game, and he threw out the first pitch. And, he spent, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes with my son, signed a baseball for him.
Yeah.
I was the New Era cap rep at the time, and I went into the shop and got him the Flying Squirrels cap. He loved that. But no, I mean, I can't say anything bad about him. Great guy. He was great when the team was in Richmond with training camp. He remembered my son and took pictures with him, signed, a football for him, or I can't. He's right up there. Yeah,
I think the problem he has in this years of, and again, this is my old man bias, sometimes liking the older players, but
yeah,
I think part of what hurt him was he was a really good player on a bad team a lot of the
yeah.
time.
Bad team. Yeah,
And
yeah,
with Man, I associate Super Bowl victories. With Manly,
yeah,
I associate some Super Bowl victories.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
there's
It's just unfortunate. He was on bad team. You had a bad owner, and no matter, it just didn't matter what they did. When you had that cancer owner, dysfunction, I mean, they just weren't going to go. Yeah, you would have your flashes here and there, win the division like 2012, but to get a championship, there was just too much. He was a cancer. I mean, just I don't want to go there with him, with the
no that
previous owner.
ruins everything. All right, so this
Yeah,
last number 10, Kirk Cousins, and once again to all the fans, it's marry your daughter, babysit your kids, mow your lawn. He's your guy, but he
yeah.
wasn't special in big moments. How
No,
the hell any young fan has him on a list of top 10 is
yeah,
shocking to me. And again, I don't
yeah.
want to pile on this person that wrote this, but damn, what the hell do you know about the
What are you
history
thinking
here?
about? Right.
Yeah, because
Well, I'll tell you a funny story about Cousins. Now, he was another guy when the team was in Richmond, very giving with his time.
yeah.
I mean, great guy. When the Redskins drafted him after RG3, my Nike guy in the Redskins was one of his teams. I texted him and said, geez, why would they take a quarterback at second after they took RG3? And his response was, he said, Coach, I'm going to tell you right now, RG3 will be a flash in the pan. He'll be in the league 2, 3, 4 years. He'll get hurt. Kirk Cousins will be a solid 10 to 15 year professional quarterback. He's not going to be. He's going to be solid. He's not going to be special, whatever. But he's going to have a 10, 15 year career in the NFL. Now, damn if he wasn't right. He's made a lot of money.
I didn't want to hear it, but I heard it from a lot of people too that were older people that had been around football, and they're like, Griffin's gone in 3 years. He won't amount to anything. I'm like,
Yeah,
that first year, and
yeah,
he did. He had the greatest rookie season at quarterback in history. It
yeah.
was.
Unbelievable.
But
Yeah,
the people that were saying, nah, I see problems on the horizon, they were right. I didn't want to believe it, but they were right.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
Cousins, of course, brings up a team, a franchise with a Sammy Baugh, Sonny Jurgensen, Hall of Famers. To even mention him in the breath of a quarterback that
That's
makes
a
it
joke.
yeah, that's a joke.
Yeah.
All right, so in wrapping this up, I want to show you some things just for everybody listening to this real quick, and it'll probably engender some more. Here are the people that are associated with the Washington Redskins franchise. It's 32 of them. I'm going to go over them real quick, who are in the Hall of Fame. And some of them, really, you kind of go, well, that was really a short stint. Some of them are obvious. All right, through September 2025, the people in the Hall of Fame: George Allen, clearly, 6 years of coach, 7 years. Camp Bailey, we talked about, in and out of town, but he's a Hall of Famer. Cliff Battles, now we're going back in time. Sammy Baugh, 37 to 52, won the championship in his rookie year. Bobby Beathard, we talked about. GM, a lot of the Gibbs 1.0 when we win, it's Bobby Beathard. Bill Dudley, another guy, way back in time, 30s and 40s level guy. Albert Glenn Turk Edwards was an offensive lineman that was, and there were two, everybody was two-way then, offensive line, defensive line, was a pillar of his time. Ray Flaherty was one of the original coaches of the team. Joe Gibbs goes without saying. Darryl Green goes without saying. Russ Grimm, we've talked about, offensive lineman, Pittsburgh, third-round pick that made the Hall of Fame. Chris Hamburger, University of North Carolina, took a number of years to get in, but a lot of Pro Bowls.
Hampton Crabber. He was
exactly
a Hampton
right.
Crabber.
From Hampton, exactly right. That's a good pull right there. And I think his dad was military, because I think he was born at Fort Bragg, and I think then he ended up coming to Hampton and went to Carolina to play football. It was back when it was like 30 rounds. He was like a third-round pick or something. He wasn't picked very high.
Yeah.
And he was considered too small. And I remember seeing him play as a kid. He was a 212-pound linebacker, honestly. He played at like 212. It was a different era.
Yeah.
Now, Ken Houston's an interesting one, too, because I was shocked to see in 73 when he came in what an impact he had on Washington versus he set a record for like, he had a crazy, I might say it here in his bio. Career interceptions, 49. Interceptions for touchdowns, 9.
Yeah.
I want to say he had 4 in a season to set a record. I think it was something like 4 in 1 year. So he is 14-year career. He began in 67. He goes to Washington in 73 following the Redskins Super Bowl loss to the Dolphins. And I want to say it was something like, see if it says it here. Ken Houston was traded to the Redskins for 5 players. That's what it was. I know it was like a 5-player
that was
deal.
back when George Allen would just, he'd trade the next 10-year draft picks to get a guy. I mean, he didn't care.
And I saw an analysis. Interesting you say that because I saw an analysis done of that because as Allen went from 71 to 77 and was out, a lot of people thought he's ruining the team. He's given up all the draft choices. And it was a guy's whole like master's thesis he wrote on a deep dive study of, does it really make that much difference with the draft picks? And he goes, Jack Pardee didn't suffer greatly. And then Joe Gibbs comes in and it's not like they're working after, because Art Monk was the first round pick.
Right.
Since I think Gary Beeben or something like that. They hadn't had a first round pick since like 69 because they were all given away.
How many picks did he give up for Dave Butts?
A lot. It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot because I think it was multiple like first round pick, second round pick. It was a lot for Dave Butts. And he's
that's
guy,
another one.
Yeah, I don't envision him ever getting into the Hall of Fame, but he's in the conversation.
Probably won't.
He's the conversation of our guy.
Yeah, he was a hell of a. He would block. He was a force in the middle of that defensive line. You couldn't move him, and he was pretty athletic for his size.
Very athletic for 6'7", 300 pounds. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So Ken Houston, Sam Huff, we mentioned. He started off with the Giants. He's famous there. He comes
back
to
Ken Houston. Was he the one that made that tackle on Walt Garrison?
It sure was.
On that Monday night game. Yeah, that Monday night game saved that game.
14-7.
Yeah, I remember watching
that game. Sonny Jurgensen gets to start, and he's kind of struggling, and he throws an out pattern at the corner of the end zone to Charlie Taylor for a touchdown.
Yeah.
The Cowboys had scored a touchdown, and it's 7-7 pretty much all night. And then Brig Owens, who I mentioned in a previous show, I loved Brig Owens. He was
Brig Owens. Yeah.
He was, I think he went on to be an attorney. He was really loved in the city. Anyway, he intercepts a pass, goes into the end zone, holding up the ball, makes it in the end zone. Craig Morton threw the interception. Then they scramble to kind of try to get back down the field to tie it. And on the play you're talking about, it's 4th and goal from 3 or so. The ball is thrown out. There was a missed assignment. I heard a whole breakdown on the play. There was a missed assignment which left Garrison out there on an island by himself with Ken Houston. And he was a rodeo guy. He just passed away here in the last 2 years or so. And Ken Houston gets a hold of him, and it becomes a real struggle to either bring him down or have him break the tackle, and he eventually pulls him to the ground.
Yeah, that's save that game.
That's another one of the most famous plays in Redskin history.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that was 73. That was his first year in Washington.
Yeah.
Okay. Sam Huff is mentioned. Sam Huff played 64, 65, 66, 67 for Washington and retires. He sits out the 68 season. Then when Lombardi comes back in 69, there's a history between the two of them. Sam Huff famously said that he and another player had had enough of Roy Lee Howell, the head coach, was 6'5" guy from Alabama. The two coordinators are Lombardi, offense, and Landry, defense. And he picks up his book, his playbook, and his personnel he has to return. And he tries to sneak in to one of the coaches and runs into Lombardi and doesn't run into who he thinks he's going to. And Lombardi's like, what the hell are you guys doing? Coach, we're turning in. We've had enough. And Lombardi talks him out of it. He goes, man up. You don't want to go back to West Virginia in the coal mines. Get your ass in there and get your work done. So he always loved Lombardi for really saving him from retirement when he was young. So 1969, when Lombardi comes to Washington, he talks to Huff about being a coach. And then Huff says, you know, Coach, I think I could get back in shape. Because you think you could? You think you could play for me again? He goes, yeah, I think I could play for you. So he goes back out there and plays 69. 70, he retires for good. But big fan of Sam Huff. But I don't. The greatness of his career was on the front end with the Giants far more than the Redskins. Not that he wasn't a Pro Bowler. Now here's another one that gets note on the Hall of Fame site. There's absolutely no connection to the Redskins other than a famous one last season is David Deacon Jones. So he's Rams to Chargers for a moment. Then he comes to Washington, and famously in the last game of the season, they've made the playoffs. They play the Bears at home in RFK. And Allen gives kind of a sophomore day or senior day, you should say senior day, and let Sonny Jurgensen start in his final season. And he gets 21-point lead, 21-0. Gives it to Joey T the second half. And then Deacon Jones at 41-0 says, can I kick an extra point? And Allen lets him do it. And he does.
I remember that.
So he kicks the extra point in 74. That's his only season in Washington. And I've seen a lot of the stuff about George Allen's life. He was very close to Deacon Jones. He was like very, very close, family member, like close.
Yeah, he sure was.
Yeah. Now, Stan Jones is mentioned here as a guard, defensive tackle, offensive lineman. And I looked at this because I'm kind of like, hey, I'm not really sure I'm following. He played the vast majority of his career with the Bears and came to Washington for one season. So it wasn't a name that really stuck out to me. But again, he's one of these guys listed because he had some touch with Washington. Sonny Jurgensen, we've talked about. Paul Krause was very much like a Champ Bailey we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
He's Rookie of the Year in 1964 with 12 interceptions.
Yeah.
And 3 years later, he's off to Minnesota and goes to be a Hall of Famer. But he got his start in Washington. Earl Curly Lambeau also coached in Washington, also famously associated with the Green Bay Packers. Vince Lombardi, same thing. The Green Bay Packers comes to Washington. Broke my heart when he passed.
Yeah.
George,
what could have been?
Yeah. I think him.
They were on the right track.
Well, his first year in Green Bay, he was 7-5 in a 12-game season. His first year in Washington, he was 7-5-2 in a 14-game season. A lot of the parallels were brought out. I always thought it was a little bit on the raw side. I loved it because I was a Sonny fan. But Lombardi famously said, he goes, hey, if I'd had that dude in Green Bay, we'd have never lost a game. If I'm Bart Starr, I'm kind of like, sorry, Coach, I think that hurts my feelings a little bit.
Yeah, really.
But he did say that he said Sonny was the greatest quarterback he'd ever seen. If I had him in Green Bay, we would have never lost a game. He had a whole different view. George Preston Marshall, the owner. Wayne Milner, another guy from the deep past. Bobby Mitchell, we talked about. Brown's first black player to play for the Washington Redskins.
Yeah.
Art Monk, love him. See, and here's another one. Andre Reed. It's 1 year at the end of his Bills.
Yeah, that was,
And so him listed as a Redskin in the Hall of Fame. John Riggins. Here's another one. Dave Robinson. Famous years with the Green Bay Packers. He did have a little bit of a time with the Redskins at the end. Deion Sanders. 1 year, 2000. Stole money from Daniel Snyder.
Yeah.
Bruce Smith comes in to get the sack record, but he's got no real history with the Redskins.
No, he doesn't.
Charlie Taylor. And then Jason Taylor. Jason Taylor's another one. Came in
at the end of his career.
Well, he came in, too, because I think it was Philip Daniels broke his leg, arm, something. I can't remember.
He did.
He broke one of his extremities, and they were in a bind. So when they went out and got him, I'm like, okay, Jason Taylor, he's a pretty good player. I could bring him in. And then he had 3.5 sacks.
Yeah.
2009.
Yeah.
So those are the list of guys that make the Hall of Fame. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you this. I'm going to give you this opportunity here to walk through this with me. And there's no right or wrong answer here. And just start going, and I'm going to do the same to follow. Take a deep breath and think. Who has to be on your list of all-time greatest Washington Redskins? Let's start there. Who's got to be on the list?
Well, I tell you who's up there. I mean, who we haven't mentioned is Mitchell. I mean,
Brian Mitchell should be in the Hall of Fame.
Mitchell.
He's number
He
two.
should.
He's number 2 all time in all-purpose yards to Jerry Rice.
Yeah.
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 Brian Mitchell. Love Brian Mitchell.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
spent time with him at camp. That dude is awesome human being. I mean, that's a guy
Yeah.
that's, I think, the
And
world
I
of.
love his commentary on his
Yeah.
shows
Yeah.
with the Redskins, the
Always
games
have.
on I mean, he's him and Doc Walker are the best.
Yeah, they
I
are.
think.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Yeah. They're the best.
I actually talked to both of them the same day, and it's funny. I went up to him. Mitchell, still a Redskins. It's pre-2019. I think it was 2019 camp. And I walked up to him and said, "Hey, brother, I appreciate the fact that you give it to the ownership, and you say the things you say." And he goes, "Hey, nobody tells me what to say."
Right.
And then I said to him, I said, "You know what? This really shows the greatness of Joe Gibbs. That Joe Gibbs came back, and went to 2 playoffs given the environment."
Yeah.
And brother, he looked at me and he said, "Joe Gibbs is like my father." That was his response. I said, "You loved him?" He goes, "Dude, I loved the man. It's like there's my dad, but there's Joe Gibbs. Like he's like a father to me." And I had another player that I met that said the same thing. Like the first thing out of his mouth is like, "Joe Gibbs is like a father to me." So that's kind of an interesting dynamic again, that you have a coach with his faith and his background and the kind of man he is. And when you get your players talking about the guy was like a father to me, it doesn't mean it's always the right fit, because sometimes you don't know when to let guys go. But he was pretty good with that too.
Yeah.
But at time, Theismann kind of took himself out, or Theismann did the, to get the Lords of London insurance money, he had to go out there and do another workout to prove he couldn't do it. But there's people that have said that 40 years later, the technology would have been, he might have been able to survive that bone break, or not survive it, but would have been able to not have lost the bone he did and not be one notch shorter. Like he might have been able to have he had a much better chance with his leg break than Smith.
Alex Smith. Yeah.
Alex Smith went through, because his was far worse. Because his was a spiral fracture on November 18th, also, but 33 years later. All right, so you mentioned Brian Mitchell, but I'm saying starting off, because I want to get your top 10. Starting off, I don't think you'd have Brian Mitchell as the essential can't miss guy. Who's your essential can't miss guy?
Oh, for the number 1 Redskin of all time.
Number one.
I'd probably Darryl Green up there, just based on his longevity and his production. And I'd have to put him up there.
And the reason I said it the way I did is, like, I'm asking you to, just think who has to be on the list. It's easier than to try to rank them. Just tell me the next guy that comes to mind. You're like, nah, that guy has to be in the list. Who's next?
I'd say Sonny, obviously.
Okay.
I'd say Art Monk, Charlie Taylor.
Got it.
John Riggins.
Yep.
Sean Taylor would be.
You said John Riggins. You said Green, Jurgensen, Monk, Charlie Taylor, John Riggins, and Sean Taylor.
Yeah, Sean Taylor. Let's see. I mean, I'd put Brian Mitchell in that top 10.
I can live with that. I think the world of him. That's great. I think it's merited too.
Yeah, I mean, he should be in the Hall of Fame.
He should.
I would say Russ Grimm. Put him in there. Trent Williams is close. I mean, if he had his whole career with him, he'd be a top 10, hands down. How many do I have on there?
You got right now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You got one more guy.
One more guy. Got Sean Taylor. I mean, I remember Kenny Houston. I mean, he was damn good. I mean, for the time he was there, I'd probably slide him in there, or somebody like Charles Mann, who was a great player for him. I'd slide, give the George Allen days, slide Kenny Houston in there.
Okay. If you go with
I didn't see Bobby Mitchell. I mean, I didn't really see him.
I did. I saw him play. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had the.
Well, I tell you who one of my all-time favorites, and he's not top 10, was Larry Brown.
Well, he comes into the conversation when you talk running back. It's kind of hard not to have him included, because we remember the 1972 season he had, where he was the MVP. He was the best player in the league.
Yeah.
He was absolutely abused abused in the George Allen system. He just run to death.
Yeah, they just they killed him.
They just
And he
shortened
wasn't
his
the
career.
biggest guy either. He wasn't the biggest guy either.
No, he was like 5'10", probably 195 pounds. It was talked about, but he was really, put together. The guy was strong for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was as big a fan of him in that time of my life when I was a kid. These were heroes. These were big heroes to us as kids. And yeah.
Chris Hamburger, I forgot about him.
Yeah.
I think he's got to be mentioned in that top 10.
All right. Well, you've exceeded 10.
Yeah. We'll just keep it at that.
Yeah. Here's where I would go. I'm very much on the same page. I think Darryl Green and Sammy Baugh are 1, 2, 2, 1, whatever.
Yeah.
I think Sammy
I've
Baugh
mentioned Mitch Hammonds. I never saw him, but yeah, he would be in the top 10.
Yeah, I just know the history and all the rest. I got to say he's there.
Yeah, he'd be there.
My guy for number 3 is Art Monk. And part of the reason I got Art Monk 3 and not John Riggins is the longevity with the organization, being picked by the organization. And they're both Hall of Famers. But I really think Art Monk left as a higher ranked wide receiver than Riggins, a running back, even though they're both great. But I think
like you said, when he retired and when Charlie Taylor retired, they were the all-time leading receivers at the time they retired.
You are absolutely correct.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very partial to Charlie Taylor because he played with Sonny Jurgensen and he was part of my upbringing, the rest. So 1, I'd have Darryl Green. 2, I would have Sammy Baugh. 3, I'd have Art Monk. 4, I'd have John Riggins. 5, I'm going to go with Sonny. I'm partial to Sonny. I get it. I got Charlie Taylor 6.
Yeah.
Now it really starts to get tough for me too.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to having Sean Taylor 7. I just think he wasn't
there long, unfortunately.
Yeah, he was that kind of talent. And I don't want to fall into the top 10 by saying I got to have a representative at every position, so to speak. But to throw in an offensive lineman, I'd have Russ Grimm in the group.
Yeah.
I'd have Russ Grimm. I don't disagree that there's a case to be made for Trent Williams. Love Trent Williams while he was here, but there's a little bit too much of he went to the other team kind of thing. He went to another place. So Darryl Green 1, Sammy Baugh 2, Art Monk 3, John Riggins 4, Sonny Jurgensen 5, Charlie Taylor 6, Sean Taylor 7, Russ Grimm 8.
Yeah.
And I kind of all the other guys. Tough. Well, it's tough because all the other guys I think that are deserving don't really distinguish. Whether it's Charles Mann, Gary Clark, a lot of other players, I think a lot of them were great, but they don't scream out to me. That guy's got to be in there over some of the other people that could be in that slot. So I got a top 8. I'm not opposed to what you're saying, putting Brian Mitchell in, because I like Brian Mitchell so much.
And he was also a great third down back. He really was, and he could catch the ball. You got the ball to him in space. He was.
Well, famously for the fans.
Pissed me off when they let him get away.
Yeah, he'd been there a long time, but you're right. He could have had some more time. Famously, he was involved in the body bag game, where a lot of people, because again, the Redskins aren't sexy for everybody sometimes, and they like to beat up on the Redskins. I've seen the NFL films, and they'll go like, one of the most famous destructions of an NFL team, 6 guys sent to the hospital, the body bag game. What they forget to tell you is a few weeks later, they played in the playoffs, and Washington came to Philadelphia and kicked their ass.
Yeah.
In the playoffs.
Yeah.
With the injured team they had, they came back to Philadelphia,
settled the
score, and kicked their ass in their own place.
Yep.
So
they did.
I always kind of find that interesting that people forget that part of the saga. The tail end of the saga was, what they did when they came back in. So Darryl Green, Sammy Baugh, Art Monk, John Riggins, Sonny Jurgensen, Charlie Taylor, Sean Taylor, Russ Grimm. Now that I think of it, I think I got to put Bobby Mitchell in there too. I got to have Bobby Mitchell. For me,
Yeah, you do.
yeah,
You do.
Bobby Mitchell I'm putting in. So then it's Brian Mitchell or it's Ken Houston. It's, I love
Can't
Brian
go
Mitchell.
wrong with either.
No, it's not. It's not. I feel pretty good about that group. Anything else you want to say about your 10 or what you said there?
No, I think you're spot on. I mean, because I didn't really see Bobby Mitchell play or
Mm-hmm.
Sammy Ball, they weren't on my list, but they're definitely top 10. I mean, that hands down, there's no discussion about it. They are. So, but I hope we have some on the current team that make that list in a few years.
Well, see, that's where I'm struggling the most with perception.
Yeah.
Because, I think back to I'm immersed in baseball, and I see a lot of professional baseball. I go out and see games in Norfolk. I go to some games in Richmond with Double A, Triple A.
Mm-hmm.
Players don't look as polished or as good to me, but it might be because I've seen too much. And when I was 20, I would have been like, "Oh my, it's a
Right.
sport I've played, and these guys look so great." But I will say this: I saw Darryl Strawberry incredibly good in the 1980s.
He was
the
awesome.
greatest player I ever saw live and in person was Josh Hamilton, which I happened to see in the 08 range, approaching 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then a guy that I saw that had that same eye test type of look to me was Xander Bogaerts playing for Boston in 22. I went up to Boston. My friend Tony Beasley, that coaches with the Pirates, was then the interim manager with the Rangers. So me and a buddy that went to college with at Lewisburg with Tony, we went up to Fenway, and I got to see Xander Bogaerts for 2 days. What I'm driving at is there's guys I see, whether it's 2022, 2008, or 1986, that separate and look good, look differently.
Mm-hmm. They do.
In pro football, the last time I went was 3 years ago. I went to the game where Jurgensen's number was retired. And I saw Sam Huff throw a really good pass. He threw a long pass.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I saw Terry McLaurin. And I saw some guys. I'm like, okay, that kind of looks good. But I'm wondering if my eyes when I was 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 looked, but I don't know. I was always pretty perceptive on stuff. Like I remember with Joe Namath, I saw Namath play and he had the Lenox Hill knee braces. He could barely move, but man, he could throw a football. He could throw a football. When I saw Unitas in 73, he was in his last year with the Chargers. The guy could barely move. He was not Johnny Unitas anymore. So I've seen these things. I saw Charlie Taylor play a lot, and Charlie Taylor could run and was rangy. And I think he's a comp to Art Monk. I think they're a lot of the same guy.
Very similar. Very similar.
Both running backs converted to wide receiver.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same height, same weight. So, so during the different eras, I was at an autograph show once. This again, when I kicked the young kids around, I'm talking with them the other year, and they're like, guys couldn't play today. And I said, you going to tell me Jim Brown couldn't play today? And they're like, I said, what do you think he was? And they're like, was he like 5'10", 175? I'm like, no, he was 6'2", 235. They're like, he was 6'2"? And I was like, yeah, look at the film. And I met him at an autograph show, and he was one of the most gracious, finest human beings. I saw him in his 70s. And man, he was nice to me. Jim Brown was nice to me. I have the picture. It was one of my greatest memories I'll have. But I looked at him. I'm like, damn, Jim Brown's a big guy.
He's a big guy.
I'm not a big guy at all, but I'm looking at him going, holy cow. I don't care what era he played in. That's Jim Brown. He's a big, he was a big gentleman. He was a big dude, And so I could see that. And at that same show, Dick Butkus walked down the hall. He was like shuffling because of his knee. Dick Butkus was big. I'll tell you who was still in playing shape. This is 2008. I'll tell you who was still in playing shape was Jack Lambert. Jack Lambert came down the hall.
Oh, I loved him.
He's 6'4", man. When they listed him as 6'4", that's legit. He was that. He was 6'4".
I tell you who was a good player with the Giants, and we used to represent the company he was president of, G3 Sports Licensing, was Carl Banks.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was
Carl, we would go to those meetings. Carl, geez, I mean, he's a big guy, and he
Yeah,
was a
he's
good
big.
basketball player too.
Yeah.
But he could get back on. I mean, it's like, geez, you could put the pads on him. Yeah, he played a year or two with Washington
He
too.
did.
Carl
He
did.
did.
Yeah,
He he did
he.
finish up with Washington. He did.
Yeah, yeah, but he, good Lord, he's a big man. Uh, Sean Taylor, I mean, I told you earlier when I was at the Miami Virginia Tech game when we were down on the sideline for that game and going into the locker room before the game and to see the equipment manager and coach and Sean Taylor sitting there on a bench just in his tight compression shorts, no shirt on, listening to music. I mean, I'm like, good Lord. I mean, that guy was built like granite. I mean, gold. We got to get this guy on our team, and they did. Just absolute stud,
You know,
absolute stud.
you mentioned Banks coming to Washington and playing. I remember the first shock of my life. There was actually one that was a ripple, then there was a huge shock. I remember how much I hated Dwayne Thomas running all over us.
Oh yeah,
And then
yeah,
he came to Washington. And I thought, Dallas Cowboys can't play for the Redskins. Although I later found out there was a lot of guys that went back and forth between those two teams.
Calvin Hill too came
That's
with
where I
him.
was going to go. But the one, Calvin Hill as a rookie in '69, so demoralized that team. Just ran all
Yeah,
over him. Out of Yale, I'm like, who is this guy? And
yeah,
then in the mid '70s, he's one of our dudes, and I liked
yeah,
Calvin Hill. But
yeah,
that's when I went through this transition of seeing like the guys that were, but in a sense, it would have been like Roger Staubach comes in and plays quarterback for the Redskins. Like you couldn't have envisioned
yeah.
that. So I had that
No,
same feeling when Dwayne Thomas came to Washington, followed, and then Billy Joe Dupree did it too. Right? No, Gene Fugit. Gene Fugit
Gene
did it.
Fugit
Gene
played for him,
Fugit
and
did
he
it. Yeah.
played pretty well for
He did. He
Washington.
played really well. But yeah, he was another guy that played for the Cowboys. So it's all these Cowboys. I'm like, they can't come play for Washington. And then they kind of did. So
Yeah, yeah.
that was some of those history too. But when you're a kid, it like you don't like
How,
those
how
guys.
dare how dare you do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh
Yeah.
God. But those Cowboys Washington games back in the 70s and really the 70s. I mean, just classic. Classic. It would drive me crazy. I remember that Thanksgiving game with Clint Longley. I'm like, damn. I mean,
1974.
yeah, and then the one where they lost in 78. I knew they were only up by 13. They're going to lose this game.
79. 79 was
It's
me.
79. I
Yep.
knew they were going to lose that game. I knew it, and damn if they didn't lose it in the last 3 minutes. They had a 13-point lead and lost the game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When Riggins scored the touchdown, I think there might have been 5 minutes left. Now, what people
yeah,
forget, but I won't forget this kind of thing.
mm,
Theismann completed a desperation pass up the field.
yeah,
And Mosley was kind of in his prime. I mean, Mosley,
mhm,
he wasn't the, and that's one thing I will definitely give ground on. When it comes to NFL players today, one thing, without
mhm.
question, they're better than they've ever been is place kicking. Holy cow, they're hitting 70
Oh my
yarders now.
God.
It seems like it's, or 65 yarders,
Well,
like it's nothing. But
yeah,
anyway, what happened in that game is they completed a pass. You can find it on YouTube. You can see the frantic end of the game. Washington gets one more shot. The
yeah,
Cowboys kick off after taking the lead by 1 point, 35-34. Field
mhm,
goal's going to win it. And then Theismann throws this like desperation pass up. There's Danny Bugs or something like that catches it, and the
yeah,
team is scrambling around. They don't have any timeouts left, or maybe
yeah,
it was one timeout. Maybe that's what it was, one timeout. But
mhm,
the officials basically come together and go, "That's it, ball game's over." And the pass play, I think, put Mosley in the 50. I'd have to go back. I want to look at that just to make sure, but I think it was like a
yeah.
55-yarder would have been a
Which
possibility.
he
He
could have
might have been
possibly
able
made
to,
that
right? And
because you're kicking off that AstroTurf.
you AstroTurf, and it's a partial roof. There's, I mean,
Yeah, the partial roof.
not that the wind wouldn't swirl in that old Irving Stadium, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember the Redskins were leaving the field screaming, and CBS was kind of like, "Hey, it kind of looks like they did call time and time or whatever it was that was supposed to have happened."
yeah. Oh yeah. Now that thing, I remember that. Yeah,
Yeah. And now what's
yeah.
also happened in there was one of the games where Dallas did the same thing and came very close. And one of the famous games where Washington had come back to win. Remember
Hmm.
Drew Pearson being involved in a completion and scrambling
Yeah.
around and trying to stop the clock. And they, oh no, I know what I'm thinking. I'm thinking about the 49er game. That's the one people forget.
Yeah.
And I forgot it because I was thinking Redskins. But no, in the 81 championship game, Montana hits Dwight Clark. Then the Niners have to kick off, and Dallas is scrambling the ball down the field. And I think on the final play, there's a completion of Drew Pearson. He's running around trying to down the ball and get the clock stopped. And they were down the field when that happened. And that would have been another footnote in history if instead of Montana the catch, it had been the Cowboys broke a play and came all the way back and scored.
Yeah.
Then it changes the whole history of and that's the thing too. I wonder to a fan, back to the youth versus the older guy, maybe some kid that saw Jaden Daniels rookie year throw that ball against Chicago at home.
Yeah.
Maybe to him, that's the catch. That's Montana and Clark. You know what I mean?
Yeah, could be. Yeah, sure.
They may be looking at it like that's something I'm never going to forget. It was a moment for me.
That was unbelievable.
But you know what I think part of it is? Part of it is what we were exposed to, and part of what we were exposed to in the 70s and 80s was NFL films. And NFL films could put that symphony music to all these moments and then but then they would do some kind of a recap of the year before. And now you've got these different images than what you were watching on the game. You got more beautiful images, slow motion, catching the ball near the end zone. So then your mind goes to the catch was really, but I remember the catch because Vin Scully.
I did too.
Well, Vin Scully was calling the game, and it didn't get any better than Vin Scully. So Vin Scully's doing the game, and Montana rolling out right, and it throws, and it's a catch, and there's Clark in the end zone.
Thank God, because I hated the Cowboys.
Yeah, and Everson Walls always caught a lot of heat for that play. I don't think that play was defensible. There's people that'll go to their graves saying that Montana wasn't even trying to complete that pass. Now, I think that was by design. Throw it to the back of the end zone, let Dwight figure it out. And where Clark came up with that, he sadly has been a while since he passed away. I think it was Lou Gehrig's disease, right?
It was, yes.
Man, what a great man he was, too.
He was awesome. He was a great player. I mean,
big fan.
Huge fan.
I was a big
Those
fan.
49ers teams were great. Back to the Redskins, that 83 team, that team was incredible. I mean,
well,
you could see the kinks in the armor in the second half, the fourth quarter of that 49ers in the NFC Championship game.
Sure, yeah.
You could see the kink in the armor, and I mean,
49ers got robbed.
Because I thought that team was unbeatable.
The 49ers got robbed.
Yeah.
That game did not go, I'm the Redskins fan, but I would say that was not a fair ending to that game.
No. They were lucky to win that game. They should have put that game away in the first half, and they didn't. And they were lucky to win that. And I think the 49ers really exposed them, which the Raiders exposed them more in the Super Bowl. But going into that 49ers after the first half, I thought that team was unbeatable.
There's so much that's talked about. Like Gibbs has said this, other players have said it that shared that experience 82 and 83. And then actually guys that went further to 87 and 91 to the other Super Bowls. You hear this a lot. There's a feel, and that's why early on you notice a lot of teams, they lost it, came back in the next year, a couple of years, they won it. There was kind of a cycle of the first time you get there, don't be expecting to win it. A lot of them, people said it was preparation. So when the Redskins got to that first win Super Bowl 17, they're coming off a strike season. There's only a week between. They've had to play 3 playoff games to get there instead of 2.
Right.
So it's a round. It's like a tournament play, and they handle going to the Super Bowl a certain way. And the story I heard was that Gibbs took the view the second year when they got back that they handled it a little bit tight. I think they tried to kind of tighten things. They had 2 weeks instead of 1. They handled it differently. Now, some players have said it was too much media hype, too much not taking it serious enough. Man, we're rolling. You've gone 8-1, 14-2, back-to-back Super Bowls. And the Raiders were a tough team. And that Raider team lost to the Redskins in RFK 37-35 earlier.
And that was a hell of a comeback, too.
That was a crazy comeback.
Joe Washington.
That's right. Washington had to put up 17 points in no time to win that game. So I
Yeah.
think that gave them a false sense of security. And
Yeah.
Marcus Allen did not play in that game.
Yep. Yeah.
So you're minus Marcus Allen, who runs all over us. But you're right. There was some things to be exposed. However, I was going to say the one record I think is untouchable is the plus 43 turnover ratio. For you people listening that haven't heard this before, the Redskins took the ball from the opponent in aggregate for the season 43 more times than they let it go.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Teams now that are plus 15, it's like they were plus 43.
43. Yeah.
So Theismann threw like 7 interceptions and they might have had 3 fumbles all year. So it's like 10 giveaways. And they must have had like close to 53 takeaways. It was crazy. You're talking about a 16-game season. Think of the number of takeaways you have to average 4 a game and stuff. I mean, it's
that was a great team.
It was. It was
a great team.
I think 91 was better.
Oh yeah, I still think the 91 team is one of the best in history. I mean, Mark Rippon. I mean, I don't even think he got sacked 8 times the whole year.
I believe it ended up being 9. They were going for the record, and I think the 9. That's a great question. I do think it was 9 was what they ended up with, or it might have been a little bit worse than that. Number of sacks Washington Redskins 1991 season.
I mean, he was outstanding.
He was in that setup. I don't want to ever take anything away. You know, I saw some of the Joe Gibbs shows when he would talk about what they were doing, how they were going about it. And there was a lot of all stay in the block. And there were times he had 8 people in blocking.
Yeah.
And they were in routes where it was Monk, Clark, maybe. And it was a precision route. And what Rippon was, without question, was a phenomenal deep thrower.
He was a maestro.
He threw well deep. He did.
Yeah, he did. And Clark would go out and get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't remember the other. Yeah, Monk, Clark. I don't remember the other receivers they had
Sanders.
back then. Yeah, Ricky Sanders was still there.
Ricky Sanders was on that group. The other kid,
I think Charlie Brown was already gone at that point.
Brown had been gone. Yeah, Brown was gone after the 83 season. He was gone because that's when Calvin Muhammad came in 84.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, the other receiver. I'm looking at the list right now. Clark, Monk, Irvin Sanders, Gerald Riggs. I'm looking at Terry Orr was a tight end. Don Warren's tight end. Ron Middleton.
Stephen Hobbs.
Stephen Hobbs.
Yeah, Hobbs. Well, Ernest Biner and Gerald Riggs. They were, really good running backs. Was Ricky Irvins on that team?
He was. He was a rookie.
Yeah. I mean,
he gave down with him at autograph. He's the nicest guy on earth, man. I loved him.
Yeah,
he was really nice.
he gave them. I mean, he was a good player for him.
He's a really good player. He was a really good player.
Yeah, no, that team was phenomenal. They were just phenomenal, and they should have been undefeated that year.
Yeah,
they could have easily been undefeated. They didn't play. They didn't bring all the dogs against that Eagles game. And I think did they lose to Dallas that year too? Did they lose
to Dallas?
They lost
to Dallas 24-21 at home when they were 12-0. So they lost that game. But what Dallas did, Jimmy Johnson, bless his heart, that was their that was the year they made the playoffs. They went from 1-15 to 7-9 to making the playoffs. So they made the playoffs. But what they did, they threw up a Hail Mary with seconds left in the first half when it wasn't expected. Like, they're not going to do that. And they scored a touchdown out of it.
Yeah, I remember.
He absolutely, Jimmy Johnson, played that game to win. He burned all the bridges behind him. He wasn't getting into, well, I'm going to worry about playing it careful. He was not playing it careful at all.
He went for it.
And he went for it. Right. He went for it and it worked. And I'm a big fan of Jimmy Johnson. I
always liked Jimmy.
Yeah. Well,
I thought he was great. Obviously he could identify talent. Without a doubt, what he did with Dallas was, he made that Herschel Walker trade, but he made all those picks work. And the way that he moved that maneuver, took Steve Walsh and supplemental and then moved him and got more picks. I mean, he made those picks work.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the story was part of what he did. He admitted it was what he got out of those trades was contingent upon use of the player.
Right.
So when he traded for these 6 guys for Herschel Walker, he told his coaches that we're going to bench him. They're like, dude, that's some of the best players we have. He goes, it's okay, because if they don't play, we're going to get 2nd-round picks instead of 4th-round picks.
Right, and that's exactly what he did. Yeah,
and that's what he did. He took it, and he just took it bad for a year. All right, here's the answer. Sacks allowed by the Washington Redskins, 1991, was 9. And I think the low number of sacks contributed to the team's overall success. They finished the season 14-2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember what the record is. The record for least amount of sacks.
That
because they
that
were
has
close
to be up
to.
there.
Yeah, I think it might be 7. I think it might be 7. Let me see if I'm getting an answer. I'll just try this real quick and we'll close down. What are the least number of sacks allowed by a team in NFL history? I think it might actually be 7. And they were, here we go. What? The least number of sacks allowed by a team in a season is 4, achieved by the Giants in 1956. Okay, well, sacks weren't even counted until 1982.
Yeah.
So, post counting the sacks, I'd wonder what the number is. They're saying 4. Yeah, it's coming up in more than one source. They had 4 sacks given up.
Wow.
Okay, here we go, though.
Well, we'll take that.
Number 1 overall, sacks, 1956 season, 4. Then it says Dolphins, 1988, 7. That's what I was thinking the record was. Giants, 1957, 7. Lions, 7 in 1956. All of these are pre-counting sacks.
Yeah, where they counted them, right.
Cardinals, 8 in 75. 49ers, 8 in 1970. Then Redskins, 9 in 1991. So I would say, as far as modern era of actually counting sacks, the Dolphins, 7 in 1988 would be the record, because that's post counting sacks, and it's saying 7. The only other team post 1982 is the Redskins. So that was my memory. 7 stuck in my mind because I thought they had a shot at it.
That's where I thought they were too. Yeah.
They had a shot at the record and they gave up 2, and that was like, oopsie. Now it's going 8-9. Now 9 doesn't beat 7. But yeah, but in 16 games, it was insanely. But again, the stuff that I would watch, some of these shows where Gibbs would go into what they were actually doing to set these plays up, and it was mass protection, or max protection, I should say. They protected Rippon to have all the time in the world to throw routes.
Oh, he could sit back there and drink a 6-pack on some of those.
He did.
And he wasn't the most mobile guy.
He wasn't. But he was a good touch passer deep. So
God
bless him. He won a Super Bowl.
Oh, he was great. He was absolutely great. But no, I mean, those were great memories, and I'm hoping that we could build something with the current team, and hopefully this draft will be a start at it. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do coming up.
To draw me all the imagery of bringing back uniforms and things like that, it's helping. It's helping. When I look down
they're getting us there. They're doing everything they could do.
Well,
now.
They're catching heat. I just did a whole show on this. I just saw there is a Native American group that's come out and said, look out, what you guys are doing, you're getting the nose under the tent again. You're doing the same thing. And they're all bent out of shape about the arrow or spear, say spear on the side of the helmet. And the commanders are coming back and go, oh, no, that's like a Greco-Roman thing. It's like from some other ancient civilization. And people are like, no, you're trying to, what the hell association to the past does that have with this team? So the 2 uniforms, and I made this point in the show I just did, those 2 uniforms, white over burgundy and burgundy over white, that is the old uniform. That is exactly.
That's our team right there.
No. I mean, more than the team. It's the uniform. It's
the uniform.
It's the modern version of the jersey color, the trim around the numbers, and the sleeve trim is the same. So they're not disguising it anymore. Now, what they've done with the helmet is they've taken the old John Two Guns white calf off, but they have striped it down the center just like the old, and they've gone back to glossy. They got that matte finish. They are going to look like our Washington Redskins.
That's exactly 80s. Right. That's
when it comes
minus
time.
the logo.
Minus the logo. And that's why I think some of these people are getting upset because they're like, if you don't watch you guys, sooner or later, you're going to slip the logo back in. I think that's coming. Now, the question is, if you're going to go that far, then bring back the damn name. Bring the
name back.
Yeah.
Just bring the name back. You know, if I paid $6 billion for a franchise, it's going back. All right. I don't care what you don't like it. Don't come. I mean,
well, and I mentioned that like Josh Harris is a Chevy Chase native. So what's that? 25 minutes outside the city? Something, I don't know. Chevy Chase is in the vicinity. Don't you think, and I mentioned this the other day, he's a billionaire, but don't you think he's had a barbecue out back or something like that? He puts his apron on, he's turning hamburgers, and he's got friends that he grew up with. Like, dude, change it back to Redskins already. We grew up. Yeah, we grew up in the neighborhood, brother. Like, we were all Redskins fans. I know he wants to.
He does.
I know he wants to. I think he's been holding out because he doesn't want to screw up the city deal, stadium and all that kind of stuff.
I think he wants to get this stadium done, and then if they're going to do it, it's going to be then.
I think you're right, and I think, well, depending on where the country is by that time, who the hell knows? But
yeah.
Now I would really be back in if the name came back, the uniform came back, John Two Guns White Caps on the side of that helmet. That is still the greatest helmet in NFL history.
Oh, it's awesome.
I don't care what anybody says.
Awesome.
Greatest helmet ever.
It's beautiful.
If all that imagery comes back, I'm in.
I'm in 100%. Absolutely. And I think it might. I think it might, but it's going to happen when they move to the new stadium.
Yeah, and I want to.
Plus, you got to give the league. I think it's. I mean, that's not something. You got to give the league a couple years' notice that you're doing a branding change and everything for product and what have you. But now I think there's a possibility. He's giving you everything you want right now,
minus
and
the name. I want the logo.
The name.
I want the logo back on the helmet.
I want that logo back, but in the meantime, go ahead and slide that spear on the burgundy helmet and put it through the W. Hell, just get rid of the W and put the spear up there on the helmet. That'd be cool.
Well, they did it on the black helmet, and that's the look right now for the black
helmet. And as far as the black uniform, I didn't necessarily like the current ones that they had been using.
they were terrible.
I didn't like them.
They were terrible.
They're horrible. Yeah. As were the red ones. They're not burgundy. They were red. I didn't like the gradient. I loved what they're going back to the old Redskins look. As far as the black one, I like it. I think it looks pretty cool with the burgundy block letter with the gold outline. I mean, with the pants and with the stripes and all. I mean, I think it looks great. The new one and I love the helmet with the spear.
I'd give anything. I would give anything for just to have. That would be my wish for life, is that they let me handle uniforms if I could, because I would do the gold over the throwback like they wore in 2007. I would do this color with the plum helmet again with the gold pants.
Oh,
I would go to that darker burgundy helmet with John Two Guns White Cap and go back to the Green Bay trim. Go back to the actual Green Bay trim, like what Jurgensen wore in '69 with Lombardi. And I would come back with the Green Bay gold pants, but in a little bit different tone. There's so many things you could do with that.
You can,
but I would want to see the spear on the helmet. I want to see the R on the helmet, and I want to see the Two Guns White Calf back.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. I mean, the spear. Would you bring it back as it looked then? Would you dress it up and modernize her?
As it
was.
That's me. Because I think, and there's a lot of YouTube channels where people are showing old films and games. I think the way guys tuck their jerseys in, the cut of the uniforms, I think the 70s and 60s, even the 60s, like when you see the film of the old Vikings, the purple, now they're into the matte finish helmets and the jerseys look blue. Now you go back and look, I'll tell you who had the best looking uniform. Oh, not best, but one of the best. Redskins of the plum over the mustard colored pants was badass with that plum helmet. But the team that totally lost the plot and looks awful now is Detroit. And in the 70s, I always think of Lem Barney as being the best looking guy in a uniform, but when they wore that
Oh, yeah.
Honolulu blue and the gray pants, and they had the
Yeah.
they had the helmet with the lion, they've screwed all the black wrote into it, the different shades of blue. It's all bullshit. It just looks terrible now.
Well, and the Seahawks one looks like shit too.
Yeah,
I mean, they should go back to
I was a fan of the old
the
school
blue.
Seahawks. Yeah.
That uniform they beat Washington when they played Washington last year. That they need to go that with the silver helmet,
Yeah.
with the blue jersey. I mean that and the gold pant. I mean that those were classic. I mean I like classic clean uniforms.
Well, it's hard. It's hard to like these guys too. I mean, this thing of wearing a jersey that's hemmed to their waistline with some different shade of T-shirt hanging 8 inches outside the jersey.
Yeah.
This is how these guys dress.
Yeah.
And I just think players look better when the jerseys were in the pants, and that's, they were just better looking situations. Now, in that picture again, I am sure of this. At that time, well, I got one here. I'm gonna go to the trouble of pulling one of these out for all the fans to see. This other stuff's gonna fall, but this is a helmet that was from the 2010s, and if you hold it, it's the VSR4. It's a Riddell. If you hold it against some of the helmets from like the Gibbs era, first time around, those things were cardinal color. They were very similar to that cardinal helmet up here that I have from '69. So what they did, and you can see it in the picture, if you can kind of see the picture back here of LeVar Arrington, that 2005 playoff game. They not to this level of shade. I mean, you can see these don't shade up, but when they wore that white, those jersey numbers were getting darker, and the gold was perfect in the white. I never thought I would have liked as much because I'm not a white uniform guy. I never liked the road uniform or white pants. I always liked the gold pants. But when they put that white over white with that dark helmet,
the white looked good. Yeah,
it looked great with this helmet. When this helmet was darkened like this, and they were wearing the white uniforms, man. Plus the guys who were on the field when they had LeVar and Sean Taylor and some of the guys.
Yeah, Sean Taylor looked really good now.
He did.
I mean,
He did. And
he looked great.
They wore the high burgundy socks. You know, it was badass. It was a good look, and I was there for that game. That defense was incredible.
I'm glad to see them change that though. It looks good. I mean, I was watching the draft tonight when they drafted Sonny Styles. I mean, bought the new burgundy jersey out and the nameplate, the way that the names, that font they use. I mean, I'm like, well, damn, that looks good. There we go. So, I'm glad to see that. Glad to see that.
Yeah, and there's something about trying to recreate the past that always has its pitfalls and the rest.
Yeah.
I do think about the fact, though, that Lombardi to Allen was an upgrade, clearly. I mean, there was a time that we were turning the corner. Pardee was a 500 coach. He went 6-10, 10-6, and 8-8. So he was a 500 coach. None of us can possibly say we saw Joe Gibbs coming. We did not know what we had. The 0-5 start, then the run that he had, 4 Super Bowls, 3 victories. So everything since then, other than him coming back, has, Dan Quinn, nice guy. I have not seen. We've had 3 great coaches there in Lombardi, Allen, and and the Curly Lambos and the Flahertys and all that. They may have been great at a different time period, but Allen was a good coach. He wasn't my favorite. Lombardi was the best coach ever, and Joe Gibbs is right there. And I will say this: I was watching Rich Eisen one day. I love Rich Eisen's show.
Yeah, I like him too. Yeah.
And he had a guy come on, he wrote a book. You could probably, anybody research this could find it. It was a book on Bill Walsh, and Bill Parcells, and Joe Gibbs. And that was 2 Super Bowls in that time era, 3 victories, and 3 because Seaford won the 4th on that first go around.
Yeah.
And they're talking about players, they're talking about personalities. And Rich Eisen looks to this guy, and he said, could any of these guys coach today? And he goes, yeah, one of them could. And he goes, who's that? He goes, Joe Gibbs. He goes, really? He goes, Joe Gibbs could coach in any era. And that's what he said. And he goes, game never passed him by, because I'll tell you why. Every player he's ever had would go through a wall for him.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
then he said he's going to relate to players regardless of his age, regardless of era. He's going to relate to players. He goes, he's the most universal in that group of being able to coach across different dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
It was flattering and I was like,
It
okay,
is.
I like it,
Yeah.
because I like Joe Gibbs.
I
But
like.
I think Walsh has come out. I wouldn't say terrible, but there's been a lot of stories about the mental games he played with Montana, like bringing when he brought Steve Young in. I think a lot of it was just to mess with Montana. And
Yeah.
I've seen Montana talk with a great deal of hurt in his eyes about how he got run out of San Francisco. And
Yeah.
I will tell the young people that watch this, I don't care what you think you've seen. I don't care what you think Brady is. And I love Brady. He's not Montana.
He's not as good as Montana.
Well, it's just he's not. There's good players, but there's Joe Cool. There was Joe Cool. There was Joe Montana. And I just never saw anything like it. And Steve Young was not Joe Montana. And Steve Young was great. He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah.
But he's not Joe Montana.
No, Joe Montana. I mean, good Lord, that in that Super Bowl against Cincinnati, the second one, when he led them down the field to win that game. I mean, they were deep in their own territory.
89 yards is on 11.
Yeah, yeah, and he took them right down the field. I mean, he was great.
Two parts of that story that I find fascinating is Harris Barton tells the story that they get in the huddle and he goes, I'm screaming. Harris Barton, offensive lineman, University of North Carolina. He's like, come on, let's get it together. We got to go. We got to, And he goes, and I look over at Montana and he's like staring in the back of the end zone. And he's like, what's going on with this guy? And he goes, hey guys, there's John Candy, the actor.
Yeah.
And then it was like, he got in the huddle. It was like formation, play, snap count, break.
Yeah.
And he's moving down the field. Then in the same drive where he's pointing out John Candy in the stands, about halfway down the field, he's looking over at Bill Walsh and he keeps doing this. And Walsh's like, no, just take it down the field. Keep going. The reason he wanted to call timeout was he was hyperventilating. So Joe Montana, that's cool and is looking in the stands and seeing movie stars, 5 minutes later can't breathe. And Walsh doesn't get it because Walsh is like, Joe Montana couldn't be hyperventilating. I mean, but he keeps looking at him like, hey, Skip, I need a timeout. And like, no, run the next play. You got the clock move. You're moving down the field. And I think eventually, naturally, they dropped the ball. Finally, something hit the ground and he got a chance to actually catch his breath.
Yeah, he got his breath and got it going.
But Todd, Joe Montana was human. Joe Montana
he was
he was literally losing his breath. And I thought, hey, it can't be Joe Montana.
Yeah, that can't Joe Cool.
When it came down to it, what did he do? He hits Taylor for the touchdown when everybody's looking Rice, and he sticks it. And that pass,
he stuck it right in there.
When you watch it over and over, it's a perfect spiral. The ball's spinning just perfect, and it's right there.
Yeah.
And that's Joe Montana.
Yep, he was awesome.
He was the best ever.
I think you can make a case for it without a doubt.
I still got him best ever.
Yeah, I can't argue against it. I can't argue.
Brady's the most
And I mean,
successful.
some of those teams back then too. I mean, the Skins were awesome.
Yes.
You had those great Giants teams.
What you had to do to be there. What you had to do.
Those Giants teams were tough. Dallas had some good years there in the 80s too. The early 80s, they weren't exactly a slouch.
No, they weren't bad, and then a decline came, but no, they were still scuffling there for a while. And I think the other thing that I think is unfair, and I say it to people often, is I really think the prototypical, if you sat down with God and said, create me a quarterback, it might be Elway.
Yeah.
Size, strength, elusive, throw it 6 miles, run fast.
Yeah.
And he took a bunch of really bad Denver teams, I think, to the Super Bowl to get his ass kicked and wear it. Kicked. He's getting his ass kicked and wearing it. And I thought it's unfair. No way Denver gets there. And I just think the AFC was inferior because other than that 83 Super Bowl where the Raiders step up and beat the Redskins, you go, 81 to 94, 95? 81 49ers, 82 Redskins, 83 Raiders. Okay, breaks the streak there. But then 84 San Francisco, 85 Bears, 86 Giants, 87 Redskins, 88, 89 49ers, 90 Giants, 91 Redskins, 92 Cowboys, 93 Cowboys, 94 49ers, 95 was that was Packers, wasn't it?
That was the Packers.
No. Cowboys over Steelers. I'm
the
sorry.
Steelers.
Yeah, because Cowboys. So what I'm saying is between 81 and 95, you've got 14 wins by the NFC.
Yeah.
And the only team in the NFC that lost was the Redskins and got their ass kicked. And a lot of these games were blowouts. So then 96, I guess, was also, that's right. It's another one because that's Packers. So 97 would have been Denver over the Packers. 98 was Denver over the Falcons. Right.
Yeah.
I think we're right about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you got a 15, that's 15 years, man. 15 years of your life where it was the NFC.
Yeah.
If
Dallas, those 49ers, Dallas, those could have gone either way.
Yes, sir. And then the Packers started to work their way into
the Packers were, yeah. Those Packers teams with Favre and Reggie White.
It just seemed like football was so much better then.
Yeah. And and the Eagles weren't exactly, they were pretty good in there too with their defenses, with, Buddy Ryan.
Yeah, but when Reggie skipped town to go to the Packers, it was over.
Yeah, they kind of started to fade, and then Jerome Brown died.
Yeah, Jerome Brown was definitely a huge loss emotionally. And if I'm not mistaken, after the body bag season, when the Redskins went in there and beat Buddy Ryan, I think that's when he lost his job, right? They fired him over that.
I think that's when they fired him. Yeah,
I think they fired him for losing to Washington.
Yeah, no, those were great times, great games, and I still love it, but I'll love it more if our team plays better.
Yeah, I think something about the mechanics of it, though. We're overexposed. We can see.
Yeah, it's just they got to bag the Thursday night games. I
mean overexposed. There was a rhythm to, and then that's part of it. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, the bag, and going to Europe and all the rest. I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
But what I mean is, if you were an '80s person, '90s person, you knew the rhythm of it all. You knew, watch some college football on Saturday. See who's going to go in the draft next year. Sunday, you're going to get NFL Today.
Yeah.
You're going to get the pregame type of thing. You're going to see the game. If you're us, you turn Sonny, Frank, and Sam on. And, by the way, I don't know if I told you this. I don't know if I showed you this one yet or not. I saw this on another one of these balls. I found this on eBay with Sonny Jurgensen on it. And right around the time he passed, I kept looking at what other signature is that? And then it dawned on me. I went and looked up a Frank Herzog signature. That's what it is.
I'll be damned.
So this is a Super Bowl 26 ball. It says Washington, Buffalo, Minneapolis, Minnesota, January 26, 1992 on it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, I mentioned this on the Sonny Jurgensen show I did about his passing. I'm wondering if they were sitting in the booth and some guys like, hey, Sonny, Frank, we got about 30 balls here. We need to have you sign or something.
Sign a few of them. Yeah.
And sign a few. And then it ended up coming to me this way. Now the signature, of course, not on it, Sam Huff. So,
right.
Maybe Sam signed some other ones. But the more I looked at that F, and then I went and looked on YouTube. I mean, not on YouTube, I looked on the internet generally. What is Frank Herzog's signature? I'm like, son of a bitch, that's it. Now, it's faint. It's very faint, but I got a ball with Frank Herzog and Sonny Jurgensen.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's great.
It means a lot to me.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, it does. I love it.
I loved Frank Herzog. So.
Oh, I loved him, and he got screwed.
He did. That's another. Yeah, Larry Michael was okay. I was all right with. I wasn't okay.
I didn't mind Larry.
Yeah,
but
I just didn't like the way it happened.
No, I didn't mind, and he was nice to us when the Skins were in town.
Yeah, the times I was around Larry Michael. Yeah, great guy.
Yeah,
Frank Herzog was an. There were people in the parking lot when I came out the next year that are raising hell, like they're rioting out there about Frank Herzog going back to the booth.
Yeah,
because that was an institution from '91 through the 2004 season. I'm sorry, from 81 through 2004.
Yeah.
And I wonder about other fans. Like they might have had a guy, in Denver. They might have had a guy with Miami. They might have there probably are similar experiences people have in different cities. But on one of the shows, I was like, I don't know who else does this. I said, but if you were the fan I was, you turned down the TV and you turned on the radio, and then you tried to sync them up. I literally went through having my radio feed go into my VCR, and I would record the games every week with Sonny, Frank, and Sam calling the game, and I'd sync them up.
Yeah.
So I recorded all the games. I got tons of old VHS tapes of games from the 80s. But when I recorded them, I recorded Sonny, Frank, and Sam because I had the radio feed come in. There was a way to split it that you got the picture in the VHS recorder, but you got the sound from a different source. I figured all this stuff out. So I have Sonny, Frank, and Sam calling games, and that I have on tape.
Wow.
And that's how you listen to the game.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
How, if you were a
They were the
Redskins
best.
fan. And I loved Pat Summerall, and I loved Tommy Brookshire, and then John Madden. But I didn't love him as much as Sonny, Frank, and Sam.
Sonny, Sam, and Frank.
Yes, Sonny and Sam together in the same booth was a treasure. And last thing I say, and we'll close up, one of the neatest things I talked about the other day after Sonny's death was the fact it came full circle. He was actually doing games with Chris Cooley in the end.
Yeah, yeah.
A man that lived to be 91, who I'm thinking Sean Taylor was born in 83. I'm thinking that Chris Cooley was, also drafted in 04, was probably about the same time range. So Jurgensen's been out of the game a decade when Chris Cooley's born. And he was a fan of Chris Cooley in 04, much so. And then eventually Cooley, who's a super smart guy, was in the booth with Sonny. And I thought that was a beautiful thing because it's a grandfatherly, grandson type of environment with the two of them together.
Oh, it was great.
That was beautiful.
Those were good times there.
Yeah, and that's part of all of I miss, and that's what I'm saying. I don't think it can be recaptured. I think so much of I think even if you bring back some of the imagery, I think Daniel Snyder ruined it all. Just bottom line,
he did. He just destroyed him.
He destroyed the whole thing.
He destroyed him. Yeah, and I hope he's miserable over in England on his boat. He ruined him. I mean, and it didn't matter what you could have had Tom Brady and Belichick, but this guy's their owner. This is what you're going to have. And it's just, he ruined him. He ruined him, and thank God he's gone. That's all I can say.
Look, brother, I enjoyed having you on. So people,
thanks. This is great. Let's do it again.
We will do it again. We're going to continue to do this Redskin talk type of thing. So those of you who have made it here to the end that are listening, please like, subscribe, and share with other people. And please put in the comments your 10 Redskins. Tell us we're crazy. We've kind of given who we think our 10 are. Tell us we're crazy. Tell us 10. Tell us some that we missed and things like that. I think the Darryl Green and Sammy Ball, some of those have to be there, but you tell us what you think.
Yes.
God, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. All righty. Let's do it again.
Talk to you all soon. This has been More to Consider.
Okay.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like the show, subscribe and hit your notification button to get an update when we post another episode. See you soon.